Chapter 297. The azure cloud wings contained a lot of information. It was left behind by a venerable. It turned out that the Azure Cloud sect was founded by a venerable. After establishing the Azure Cloud sect, he called himself Venerable Azure Cloud. The Azure Cloud wings were left behind by Venerable Qing Yun. It was the most precious treasure in Venerable Qing Yun's life. This was because the Azure Cloud wings wasn't just a supreme-grade spirit artifact, but a supreme-grade spirit artifact that could be upgraded. The Azure Cloud wings was made from a special material, the Levitation Azure Gold. The Levitation Azure Gold was not a spiritual-grade metal, nor a mystic-grade metal. It was a special type of metal. Weapons made from the Levitation Azure Gold could absorb other types of Azure Gold to upgrade. In other words, if the Azure Cloud wings absorbed a mystic-grade Azure Gold, then the Azure Cloud wings would be upgraded to a mystic-grade weapon. If it absorbed a higher-grade Azure Gold, then the Azure Cloud wings could continue to upgrade. Levitation Azure Gold. The word levitation meant ascension. This meant that this metal could absorb various types of Azure Gold and finally reach the stage of ascension. As long as the Azure Cloud wings absorbed enough Azure Gold, it could also ascend to the heavens. Therefore, although the Levitation Azure Gold did not belong to any grade of metal, it was an extremely precious treasure. It was rare in the world. Venerable Azure Cloud was originally a peak enlightened being. He accidentally broke through to become a venerable because he ate heavenly treasures. He did not have a mystic grade inheritance. After becoming a venerable, his cultivation did not improve at all. After establishing the Azure Cloud sect, Venerable Azure Cloud did not pass down the Azure Cloud wings because he did not leave a mystic grade inheritance. The Azure Cloud sect could not produce a venerable. After all, there were too few people like him who became a venerable by accident. The Azure Cloud wings was too precious. The Azure Cloud sect did not have the strength to protect it. Venerable Azure Cloud was afraid that the Azure Cloud wings would bring disaster to the Azure Cloud sect. However, the Azure Cloud wings was the most important treasure in his life. Venerable Azure Cloud did not want to bury it. Therefore, in his later years, he established the Azure Cloud Ancient Land. In the Azure Cloud Ancient Land, he placed the countless treasures he obtained in his life. Among them, the most precious treasure was placed in the treasure hall. However, the Azure Cloud eyes in the treasure hall had already been passed down to the younger generation of the Azure Cloud sect. Only the Azure Cloud wings was the true treasure he left behind. Venerable Qing Yun was afraid that the Azure Cloud wings would bring disaster to the Blue Cloud sect, so he didn't want to pass it down to the younger generation. However, he also didn't want such a treasure like the Azure Cloud wings to be buried, so he wanted someone in the younger generation to obtain it. In the end, his method was to resign himself to fate. He placed the Azure Cloud wings somewhere in the Azure Cloud Ancient Land. If the juniors of the Azure Cloud sect could find it, it would be the will of the heavens. If they couldn't, it would also be the will of the heavens. From the test set by Venerable Qing Yun, it could be seen that the difficulty wasn't high. If the one who entered was an enlightened being, he could sweep through the entire treasure hall and obtain all the treasures inside. As for the Blue Cloud sect, when it was strong and prosperous, it definitely had Taoist master-level juniors. Unfortunately, the Azure Cloud sect had been passed down for 1,000 years. Until its destruction, not a single disciple had ever entered the treasure hall. On the contrary, Zi Shanho had accidentally barged in. From Venerable Qing Yun's point of view, it was the will of the heavens that prevented the Azure Cloud sect from obtaining the Azure Cloud wings. Sometimes, luck was really hard to explain. Although Zi Shanho had entered the treasure hall, due to his lack of strength, he could only obtain the treasures on the first floor. In the end, it was Yi Xing who took advantage of it. In the message left behind by the Blue Cloud Venerable, the Blue Cloud Venerable repeatedly warned the younger generation who obtained the Blue Cloud wings to be careful and not to easily show the Blue Cloud wings to others. Although there were very few people who knew the feather green gold, once it was recognized, it was definitely a shocking figure who could destroy the Blue Cloud sect. Venerable Qingyun clearly didn't expect that the Azure Cloud sect that he had passed down, even without the Azure Cloud wings, would be destroyed after 1,000 years. Yixing remembered Venerable Qingyun's warning in his heart. It seemed like the Azure Cloud wings could only be used as a secret item to protect his life. How fast was a supreme-grade flying spiritual artifact? If it was used to escape, even enlightened masters wouldn't be able to catch up to it. In the message that Venerable Qingyun left behind, there was also a large amount of array knowledge. Since he was able to build the Azure Cloud ancient land, he was clearly a powerful array master. Yixing directly obtained Venerable Qingyun's array knowledge, and his understanding of array Dao skyrocketed. Of course, this array Dao knowledge belonged to Venerable Qingyun. It was only in Yixing's mind. If Yixing wanted to use it for his own use, he would have to comprehend it properly. Other than that, Venerable Blue Cloud had also left behind the refining method and usage method of the Azure Cloud wings. The feather green gold could be used to bind its owner with a drop of blood, so dripping blood was the fastest refining method. Yixing didn't know how to refine the feather green gold and accidentally stumbled upon it. According to the method left behind by Venerable Qingyun, Yixing's heart moved and a pair of wings grew out from Yixing's back. It was a pair of azure golden wings, exuding a bright light. When the wings spread out, it was more than 3 feet long. The Azure Cloud wings was only the size of a palm when he held it in his hand, but after refining it, it was more than 3 feet long. This Azure Cloud wings was really amazing. There was an extra pair of wings on his back, but Yixing didn't feel strange. The wings seemed to be connected to his flesh and blood, just like his hands and feet, a part of his body. The wings could be opened and retracted with just a thought. Thinking that he could fly in the sky at will with the Azure Cloud wings, Yixing's heart was filled with joy. Flying freely in the air was something that only venerables could do. Currently, Yixing was only a 6-star martial saint, and he already had such an ability. He was able to do something that even sage martial saints could not do. Of course, he was very happy. The only thing that made Yixing feel regretful was that using the Azure Cloud wings seemed to consume a lot of celestial essence. He hadn't even flown yet. Just by using the Azure Cloud wings on his back, he could already feel his celestial essence quickly depleting, as if he was in the middle of a battle. The Azure Cloud wings are too high level for me. Even if I can use it to fly now, I'm afraid I can't fly for too long. Maybe after I become an enlightened master and convert all my celestial essence into astral star, I can support it for a long time. Yixing thought in his heart. With a thought, he retracted the Azure Cloud wings. After resting in the cavern for a while, Yixing recovered his celestial essence and physical strength and then left the cavern. There was only one cave in the cavern that led to another place, and there was no exit. Yixing could only walk along that cave. The cave was very long. Yixing walked for half an hour before he came across another cave. Yixing thought about it for a while and decided not to explore the other cave. Instead, he continued to walk forward. After walking for another half an hour, a rumbling sound came from the front. Listening to the sound, it sounded like someone was attacking the walls. The sound was heavy, and Yixing could feel the vibrations coming from the walls. Yixing quickened his pace and walked forward. The sound grew louder and louder. Finally, he came to a huge underground palace. This underground palace had several caves leading to it. The cave that Yixing came from was just one of them. Inside the palace, there were already 6 martial artists attacking an array formation light cover in the deepest part of the palace. Inside the array formation light cover, there was a stone platform with 3 secret books suspended above it. High-grade spiritual martial art, Flame Astral Fist. Middle-grade spiritual martial art, Pine Tree Sword Art. Middle-grade spiritual martial art, Ice Congealing Finger. High-grade spiritual martial arts, for the top 10 sects of the Clear Sky region, were treasures of their sects. Even the four northern sects did not have many high-grade spiritual martial arts. Therefore, these 6 martial artists looked very excited. They wanted to break the array formation light cover and get the secret books inside. However, their main goal was obviously the high-grade spiritual martial art Flame Astral Fist. There were 6 of them, but only one Flame Astral Fist. When they broke the array formation light cover, a big battle was unavoidable. Yixing's gaze moved away from the martial arts manual and landed on the 6 cultivators. Their cultivations were all very high. There were 4 8-star martial sages and 2 peak 7-star martial sages. They were disciples of the northern 4 sects. Yixing did not know the 2 peak 7-star martial saints, but Yixing knew the names of the 8-star martial saints of the 4 northern sects. Lei Yun of the Blue Thunder sect. Yang Kun of the Yin Yang sect. Luo Ying of the Tian Luo sect. Ming Shuang of the Xian Ming sect. 2 men and 2 women. Although they were not young masters, as 8-star martial saints, they were enough to defeat all the disciples of the 6 southern sects except for Yixing and young master Watanabe. Just as Yixing was sizing up the 6 martial artists, 2 7-star martial saints walked out of another cave on the opposite side. Chapter 298. Yixing knew that these 2 7-star martial saints were disciples of the Divine Wind sect. The one in white was called Fengyu, a late 7-star martial saint. The one in black was called Fang Zhe, an early 7-star martial saint. As one of the disciples of the 6 southern sects, Yixing naturally knew the other elite disciples of the 6 southern sects. When Fengyu and Fang Zhe entered the hall, the first person they saw was Yixing. However, their eyes only stayed on Yixing for a moment before they looked at the 3 martial arts manuals. To be exact, their eyes were locked on the Flaming Dipper Fist. Upper grade spiritual martial arts. Their eyes suddenly lit up and they exclaimed at the same time. Their voices were full of surprise. The Divine Wind sect only had one upper grade spiritual martial arts, which was regarded as the treasure of the sect. Even the elders might not be able to learn it. Only the sect leader and the elders who had made great contributions to the sect could learn it. As disciples, Fengyu and Fang Zhe were naturally not qualified to learn the upper-grade spiritual martial arts of the sect. However, if they could obtain an upper-grade spiritual martial arts in the Qingyun ancient land and offer it to the sect, they would have the right to learn this upper-grade spiritual martial arts and also receive a lot of sect contribution points. Therefore, when they saw the upper-grade spiritual martial arts, Fengyu and Fang Zhe were wild with joy. They rushed toward the Flaming Dipper Fist and attacked the light shield. This Flaming Dipper Fist belongs to my Divine Wind sect. Fengyu was the eldest disciple of the Peerless sect. While attacking, he shouted excitedly. In front of the light shield, there were already 6 warriors attacking. However, Fengyu and Fang Zhe's eyes were attracted by the Flaming Dipper Fist and ignored the 6 warriors. Fengyu said that the Flaming Dipper Fist belonged to the Divine Wind sect and he was happy. However, when these words fell into the ears of the disciples of the 4 northern sects, they were not happy. Especially the 8-star martial saint of the Sun Moon sect, Yang Kun, suddenly snorted. His figure was like a ghost. In an instant, he appeared in front of Fengyu and slapped Fengyu's face. Yang Kun was a late 8-star martial sage. However, the Sun Moon sect had 2 demonic young masters, Young Master Sun Moon and Young Master Great Sun, who had overshadowed his brilliance. Actually, Yang Kun's talent was also very high, and his strength was also very strong. He was also a genius. Fengyu was excitedly attacking the light barrier of the array, wanting to snatch the Flaming Dipper Fist. Who would have thought that he would suddenly be attacked? Furthermore, the attacker was an 8-star martial saint. He could not dodge at all. Hastily, Fengyu raised her hand to block. Yang Kun's palm drew an arc, instantly bypassing Fengyu's blocking arm, and with a bang, ruthlessly slapped Fengyu's face. Yang Kun's attack was quite heavy. His slap shattered Feng Yu's teeth, causing him to spit out blood and fly towards Yixing. Feng Yu suddenly being attacked gave Fang Zhe a fright. Only now did he realize that the 6 martial artists beside him were actually disciples of the 4 northern sects. They were existences that they could not afford to provoke. While Fang Zhe was greatly shocked, Yang Kun attacked again, and another slap came towards him. Fang Zhe's strength was lower than Feng Yu's. At this moment, he was greatly shocked. How could he block Yang Kun's powerful slap? Pa! With a crisp sound, Fang Zhe was also sent flying. In the eyes of the 4 northern sects, the disciples of the 6 southern sects were like ants. Yang Kun did not even bother to speak to them. He directly attacked, sending both Feng Yu and Fang Zhe flying. After sending Fang Zhe flying, Yang Kun looked proud and said, "Ants of the 6 southern sects dare to have evil thoughts about the flaming dipper fist. Humph! Are you qualified? Get out of my way." While speaking, Yang Kun's eyes glanced condescendingly at Yixing, full of disdain. If it were not for Yixing standing far away and not boasting about wanting the flaming dipper fist, Yang Kun's slap would have already landed on Yixing's face at this moment. Feng Yu and Fang Zhe both flew in front of Yixing and fell to the ground, rolling at the feet of Yixing. The two climbed up, but did not dare to be angry at Yang Kun. Instead, they apologized. "I didn't know that the senior brothers and sisters of the 4 northern sects were here. We were reckless, please calm down." Any disciple of the 4 northern sects was enough to crush them, especially the disciples of the Sun-Moon sect. They had 2 child-level monstrous geniuses and were the most powerful. If they were not blinded by the flaming dipper fist and recognized the 6 disciples of the 4 northern sects, even if they were given 10,000 guts, they would not dare to say such words. Yang Kun faintly glanced at the 2, but did not pay attention to them. He turned around and continued to attack the light shield. Feng Yu and Fang Zhe both breathed a sigh of relief. The 2 had already held their heads in their hands and faced a life-and-death crisis. If Yang Kun killed them in anger, the Divine Wind sect would absolutely not dare to avenge them from the Sun-Moon sect. The 2 looked at each other with lingering fear. At this time, the 2 of them saw Yixing from the corner of their eyes. A 6-star martial saint was actually standing behind them and saw such an unbearable side of them. The 2 of them had no backbone in front of Yang Kun and did not feel the slightest shame. However, when they found that Yixing was looking at them from the side, they instantly became furious, as if they had been humiliated. What made the 2 of them furious was that Yixing was a disciple of the enemy camp. Feng Yu suddenly shouted angrily, "What are you looking at? Be careful that this young master will dig out your dog eyes." Yixing really did not want to look at these 2 trash. However, when the 2 of them flew over and fell at his feet, Yixing instinctively looked at them. The 2 of them had suffered a loss in the hands of Yang Kun and had been angered, so they acted like cowards. Now, they were venting their anger on Yixing, treating Yixing as a soft persimmon that they could pinch at will. Yixing's gaze turned cold as he looked at the 2 of them. He said, "My eyes are the eyes of a human. However, I do see 2 dogs wagging their tails happily after being beaten. These 2 dogs' eyes are the eyes of a dog." Feng Yu and Fang Zhe were furious. Feng Yu's eyes became cold, and his killing intent soared. He said coldly, "A mere 6-star martial saint dares to talk to us like this, you're courting death. Junior brother Fang, slap his mouth for me." Fang Zhe clenched his fist, and the sound of bones cracking could be heard. He shouted, "Trash, there are some people you can't afford to offend." As he spoke, Fang Zhe sent a slap towards Yixing. Just now, he had been slapped by Yang Kun and had nowhere to vent his anger, so he transferred it to Yixing. This slap was fast and ruthless. Yixing raised his hand and caught Fang Zhe's palm. In Yixing's hand, there was a burning star fire from the star fire seed. When it came into contact with Fang Zhe's palm, it immediately emitted a green smoke and a burnt smell. Fang Zhe suddenly let out a scream. He had never expected that a 6-star martial sage would be able to catch his hand so easily. What was even more unexpected was that Yixing's palm had such a powerful flame that even his celestial essence could not withstand it. Ignoring Feng Zhe's screams, Yixing clenched his other hand and slapped Feng Zhe's face. Feng Zhe's face was slapped hard, and his body was sent flying. However, Feng Zhe's hand was tightly gripped by Yixing, and his flying body was pulled back down. This slap left Feng Zhe's mouth full of blood. Broken teeth flew everywhere, and his blood-curdling screams grew louder. Feng Zhe's slap was too late. Yixing caught Feng Zhe's palm and then slapped back. In the blink of an eye, Feng Yu, who was on the side, did not expect that Feng Zhe could not even handle a 6-star martial saint and was injured instead. He simply did not have time to react. It was not until Feng Zhe was slapped hard that Feng Yu finally reacted. He glared and shouted angrily, "You dare!" While speaking, he poked at Yixing with 2 fingers. The air was torn apart, and a harsh whistling sound could be heard. Middle-grade spirit martial art Wind Extinction Finger. This was the martial art of the Divine Wind sect, Feng Yu's Wind Extinction Finger, which had been cultivated to the small success realm. He furiously attacked with a finger, and his star essence was circulated to the limit. Except for not using astrology, he launched a powerful attack. Yixing did not dodge Feng Yu's attack. The coldness in his eyes was even more intense. He grabbed Feng Zhe's palm and threw him. Feng Zhe's body flew up and became Yixing's weapon. Feng Zhe's body met Feng Yu's finger attack and fiercely lashed at Feng Yu. Feng Yu was shocked. How could he expect Yixing to use Feng Zhe's body as a weapon? He was shocked and quickly withdrew his attack. However, at this critical moment, how could he withdraw his attack? The Wind Extinction Finger fiercely poked Feng Zhe's body, and immediately poked a bloody hole. Chapter 299. Feng Yu's attack on Yixing was deadly. Feng Zhe was severely injured and let out a shrill scream. However, at this time, Feng Zhe's body was being wielded by Yixing like a weapon. Even though he was attacked by Feng Yu, he still whipped forward fiercely. Boom! Feng Zhe's body collided with Feng Yu's body, causing a loud explosion. Yixing's physical body was far better than other martial saints. Coupled with his rich celestial essence, the power of the whip was so terrifying that Feng Yu was immediately sent flying. At this time, Yixing's hand that was holding Feng Zhe also loosened, and Feng Zhe flew out. Feng Yu fell more than 10 meters away. As soon as he landed, there was another bang as Feng Zhe smashed into him. The two of them rolled into a ball awkwardly. A terrifying aura emanated from the side of the light shield. Yang Kun stopped his attack and swept his eyes over Yixing and the other two, erupting with a terrifying aura. Yang Kun's eyes were sharp as he said disdainfully, "I told you 3 ants to get lost. Are you deaf or stupid?" This light shield had a very strong defensive power. Yang Kun was the first to come here, but he could not break the light shield. Later, disciples of the other 4 northern sects came one after another. Yang Kun had competitors and his heart was already filled with anger. However, even if there were disciples of the other 4 northern sects, as long as they could break the light shield, Yang Kun was very confident that with his attainments in Qinggong, he would be able to snatch the secret manual of Flaming Dipper Fist. However, even if the 6 disciples of the 4 northern sects attacked at the same time, they could not break the light shield, which made Yang Kun more and more depressed. However, he believed that with 4 8-star martial saints and 2 peak 7-star martial saints, there would be a time when they could break through the light shield. However, now was the time when he was feeling depressed. He wanted to find a punching bag to vent his anger. Feng Yu and Feng Zigong had rushed forward and naturally ignited his anger. He had slapped them back. Although Yang Kun felt a little better in his heart, he was not happy yet. The 3 ants of the southern 6 sects were fighting here, and he felt that they were an eyesore, so he pointed his spear at them. Feng Yu's injuries were not serious. She helped the heavily injured Fang Zhe up and glared fiercely at Yixing. However, she did not dare to show any dissatisfaction towards Yang Kun. The two of them quickly left the palace. Yang Kun looked at Yixing, who was standing still. The baleful aura on his face grew heavier as he coldly said, "You're not going to scram?" Yixing looked at Yang Kun, and his gaze showed no signs of weakness as he said, "There's no such thing as scram in my life. Why don't you show me how to scram so that I can learn from you?" Yang Kun's eyes suddenly emitted two rays of light, as if there were two balls of fire burning in his eyes. The other 5 warriors who were attacking the light shield stopped at this moment and looked at Yixing with surprise. This was the first time they saw Yixing in their eyes. They sized him up. Obviously, they did not expect that a 6-star martial sage would dare to speak like this in front of Yang Kun. Regardless of Yang Kun's identity as a disciple of the Sun Moon sect, as an 8-star martial sage, he was an existence that the disciples of the Southern 6 sects needed to look up to. What's more, Yang Kun was a late 8-star martial sage. Among the 4 8-star martial sages present, Yang Kun's cultivation was the highest. Yang Kun twisted his neck, and the sound of bones cracking rang out. With a ferocious look in his eyes, he walked step by step towards Yixing. The disciples of the Southern 6 sects, except for young Master Watanabe, are all ants, trash, and straw dogs in my eyes. No disciple of the Southern 6 sects has ever dared to speak like this in front of me, Yang Kun. Do you think that you can be arrogant in front of me, Yang Kun, just because you defeated the 2 trash of the Divine Wind sect? It's simply presumptuous. And, since you don't know what it means to get lost, then today I'll teach you what it means to get lost. As Yang Kun spoke, he slowly walked closer to Yixing. When he finished his last sentence, his aura had accumulated to the extreme, and he threw a punch at Yixing middle-grade spiritual martial art, Scorching Sun Divine Fist. This punch was incomparably bright, like the scorching sun in the sky. It was dazzling, and it contained an extremely hot and strong power. The 8-star martial sage struck out with a thunderous blow. Yang Kun wanted to heavily injure Yixing with this punch, and send Yixing flying. Then, he would fall to the ground and roll continuously. TSK TSK. You don't know what's good for you. Ming Shuang, an 8-star martial sage disciple of the Dark Underworld sect, gently pouted. The Dark Underworld sect had a good relationship with the Sun Moon sect, and Ming Shuang had a good personal relationship with Yang Kun. Naturally, she was happy to see Yixing being sent flying by Yang Kun with one punch. Moreover, Ming Shuang also thought so. A 6-star martial sage would definitely not be able to block Yang Kun's punch. However, as soon as she finished her disdainful words, a look of surprise flashed in her eyes. Yixing faced Yang Kun's fist that was like the scorching sun. He did not dodge, nor did he take half a step back. Instead, a long spear suddenly appeared in his hand. The purple feather spear instantly burst out with a dark spear light, and it pierced toward the scorching sun fist in front of it. It was like a needle against an awl. Although the scorching sun fist was dazzling, it could not disperse the darkness that burst out from the purple feather spear. Not only was Ming Shuang shocked, but Lei Yun, Luo Ying, and the other 2 cultivators were also shocked at the same time. Yixing was actually going to fight Yang Kun head-on. Come on, huh? Yang Kun grinned and pushed his celestial essence, increasing the power of his punch by a few notches. Boom! As Yang Kun sneered, the scorching sun fist and the dark spear light collided, and there was a loud explosion. The violent airflow exploded, setting off a terrifying airwave that surged in all directions. Yixing held his spear and pierced forward, not taking half a step back. However, Yang Kun's laughter suddenly stopped, and a look of horror flashed in his eyes. His body shook violently as if it had been hit by a fierce horse, and he could not help but step back. Dong 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 dong, Yang Kun took 5 steps back before he could stabilize his body, and there was a look of disbelief in his eyes. He was an 8-star martial saint, but in a head-on battle, he was pushed back by a 6-star martial saint. The other 5 cultivators were also shocked. A 6-star martial saint had the upper hand against an 8-star martial saint. This ability to challenge people of a higher level was comparable to the yin-yang young master. They did not know that Yixing's middle spiritual martial art, dark spirit spear technique, had reached the perfection stage. Its power was comparable to an upper spiritual martial art at the initial success stage. Even if his cultivation was not high, and the strength of his star essence could not be compared to an 8-star martial saint's, with the perfection stage of the dark spirit spear technique, he could defeat an 8-star martial saint. Just now, Yixing had casually stabbed with his spear. If he had used his full strength, Yang Kuan would have been seriously injured or even killed. Yixing pushed Yang Kuan back with his spear. He took a step forward, and his body instantly turned into a phantom as he rushed forward. Yixing held the purple feather spear with both hands and smashed down from above. It was as if he was not holding a spear, but a stick. There was no such move in the dark spirit spear technique. However, with the perfection stage of the spear technique, Yixing was no longer limited to moves. His spear contained a terrifying power. Yixing's spear smashed down directly, fast and ruthless. Almost as soon as Yang Kuan stabilized his body, Yixing's spear had already smashed down on his head. With such speed, even Yang Kuan, an 8-star martial saint, could not keep up with the rhythm. He could only hurriedly clench his fists and cross his forearms to block. Boom! The spear shaft smashed into Yang Kuan's forearms. His celestial essence defense instantly exploded, and his clothes burst into pieces. The spear shaft directly collided with his skin. At this moment, Yang Kuan felt a sharp pain in his arms. It was as if a mountain was pressing down on him from above. Plop! Yang Kuan could not bear the force of the spear. His knees sank and he knelt on the ground, creating 2 pits. Although most of the force was transmitted to the ground during this kneeling, Yang Kuan's body still suffered a lot of shock. His internal organs were overturned, and he immediately spat out blood. Yixing held the purple feather spear with both hands and pressed down, making it difficult for Yang Kuan to move. He said, "Didn't you want to teach me how to roll? Why are you teaching me how to kneel?" Looking at the scene in front of them, the other 5 cultivators were stunned. This 6-star martial saint was so powerful. 2 spears and Yang Kuan was forced to kneel. Hiss! Someone could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. They no longer dared to look down on this 6-star martial saint in front of them. How was this a soft persimmon? This was simply an evil star. Ah! You are courting death. Yang Kuan flew into a rage out of humiliation. With a roar, starlight suddenly rushed out from between his eyebrows, turning into a flaming star in the sky. Chapter 300. Yang Kuan used the star aspect, the flame aspect. In an instant, the endless power of flames fell, and Yang Kuan's strength soared. With a roar, his body rose up and pushed away the purple feather spear above him. Scorching sun burns the sky. Yang Kuan's star essence was operated to the limit, and the momentum of fire condensed into his fist as he launched a powerful blow at Yixing. Yang Kuan's strength erupted. Even a peak 8-star martial sage would not dare to underestimate him. They would have to go all out to compete. Looking at the dazzling fist light that was like a scorching sun, Lei Yun, Luoying, and the other 5 cultivators retreated to avoid being hit by the power of this fist. Moreover, the 5 of them were horrified. If Yang Kuan's strength erupted to the limit, would he tear down this palace? In the face of Yang Kuan's powerful blow, Yixing's expression was still calm. His posture was like a mountain, and he did not retreat half a step. At the same time, the star essence in his body circulated, and the purple feather spear burst out with a dark spear light. Yixing had used the unique skill of the dark spirit spear art, dark spirit spear. A huge spear shadow stabbed forward, bringing with it endless darkness. The dazzling fist light that was like a scorching sun could not dispel the darkness at all. Instead, the darkness drowned the light, and the momentum was reversed in an instant. The darkness brought by the spear was like a giant beast opening its bloody mouth, swallowing all the light in front of it. Boom! With a loud explosion, the entire palace paused. A terrifying blast of air exploded, rolling in all directions in an instant, covering the entire space in the palace. Even if Lei Yun, Luoying, and the other 5 had retreated far enough, they were still hit by the surging blast of air. It was like a wave, and its power was very strong. In the explosion, the dazzling fist light was completely swallowed by the darkness. The darkness shrouded everything. Vaguely, they could see Yang Kuen's figure suddenly shooting backward. Bang! The darkness dissipated in an instant, and with another explosion, Yang Kuen slammed into the light shield of the array and bounced back. He fell to the ground and rolled for more than 10 meters before coming to a stop. Blood spurted out from his mouth, and his face was covered in bruises and bruises. He was in a very sorry state. Yixing put away the purple feather spear, coldly looked at Yang Kuen and said, "Tsk tsk. So this is how you roll. Not bad, your rolling is very accurate. But it's a pity. I don't have the talent in this area, so I can't learn it." Lei Yun and the other 4 martial artists looked at each other, dumbfounded. Not only was this guy's strength terrifying, even his mouth was so sharp. Yang Kuen crawled up from the ground. His eyes were filled with resentment, but he didn't dare to attack Yixing again. "You! How dare you? Do you know which sect I'm from? My Sun Moon sect has 2 young master-level geniuses, and they can crush you in no time." "He he." Yixing said disdainfully, "If you can't do it, then you'll look for your senior brother. If your senior brother can't do it, then you'll look for your daddy and mommy, and then your grandpa and grandma. Little brat." Yang Kuen's face instantly flushed red, like a pig's liver. He roared in a low voice, "What did you say?" He was already 24 years old, and Yixing looked obviously much younger. He looked like he was 17 or 18 years old. But he was called a little brat by Yixing with disdain. He felt extremely humiliated. Yixing shrugged and said, "You're trash. You can't beat others, so you start looking for this and that. If you're not a little brat, then what are you?" Yang Kuen clenched his fists tightly, making creaking sounds. He wanted to immediately rush up and beat Yixing until his face was bruised and swollen. He wanted to beat Yixing into a cripple to prove himself. Unfortunately, he only dared to have this thought, and didn't dare to make a move. He was very clear that if he dared to make a move, the one with a bruised and swollen face wouldn't be Yixing, and the one who would be beaten into a cripple wouldn't be Yixing. It would be him, Yang Kuen. Yang Kuen forcefully suppressed the anger in his heart and said, "I have my senior brothers looking for me. This is my advantage as a disciple of the Sun Moon sect. You're just a disciple of a trash sect. You won't be able to find me even if you want to. I'll let you be arrogant now. You better pray that you don't run into my Sun Moon sect's eldest senior brother or second senior brother in the future. Otherwise, you'll suffer." The corners of Yixing's mouth curled up. Others might be afraid of the Yin Yang young master and the Great Sun young master, but he, Yixing, wasn't afraid. Yixing treated Yang Kuen like air. He no longer paid any attention to him and walked towards the other 5 cultivators. Among these 5, 3 were 8-star martial saints and 2 were peak 7-star martial saints. When they saw Yixing approach, they instinctively felt a sense of pressure in their hearts. Yixing stopped in front of the 5 of them and said, "Although I came here last, I have a way to break the light shield. I'll also join you. After breaking the light shield, we'll fight for the secret manual using our own methods. How about it?" The eyes of the 5 cultivators lit up. Yixing had a way to break the light shield. This was naturally the most suitable choice. Moreover, Yixing didn't want to take the secret manual of the Flaming Dipper Fist for himself just because he broke the light shield. Instead, he wanted everyone to fight for it with their own methods. Of course, the 5 of them had no reason to refuse and nodded their heads. Even a 9-star martial saint would find it hard to break the light shield here. If they kept attacking it, they might have to attack for a few days before they had any hope of breaking it. However, Yixing had obtained the knowledge of formations from Honorable Qing Yun. Moreover, the Clear Cloud Ancient Land was created by Honorable Qing Yun. Yixing was very familiar with the formations of the Clear Cloud Ancient Land. When he saw the light shield, he knew where the weak point of the light shield was. He could easily break it with his own strength. Yixing came to the front of the light shield, stretched out his palm, and pressed it on the light shield. Circulating the celestial essence in his body, he spat it out from his palm and slowly seeped into the light shield. Yixing had a good understanding of the array patterns in the light shield. His celestial essence slowly seeped into the various positions, shifting the position of the array patterns inside. The same array pattern, if placed in different positions, would have different effects. As Yixing continued to adjust the array patterns, the defensive power of the light shield became weaker and weaker. Imperceptibly, Yixing was lowering the level of this array formation. Everyone's array formations were different. In most cases, it was difficult for outsiders to change the array formations arranged by an array formation master. However, Yixing had Honorable Qing Yun's knowledge of formations in his mind. He had a good understanding of the array formations of the Clear Cloud Ancient Land. After half a quarter of an hour, Yixing moved his hand away. "How is it? Why hasn't it been opened yet?" Lei Yun asked immediately. Even in the northern 4 sects, there were very few upper-grade spiritual martial artists. Whether it was Lei Yun, Luoying, or Ming Shuang, they all wanted the Flaming Dipper Fist manual. Yixing glanced at the people in the hall. The 5 cultivators looked at him with anticipation. In the distance, Yang Kun did not leave. Instead, he leaned against the wall and stood there, waiting for Yixing to break the array formation's light shield. Yixing said, "The defensive power of the light shield has been reduced. Now we can attack and break it in an instant. After breaking it, we will rely on our own means. Whoever gets the Flaming Dipper Fist manual first will get it. Then what are we waiting for?" Lei Yun shouted and rushed towards the light shield of the formation. With a palm strike, the sound of thunder could be heard. Green Thunder Sect's middle-grade spiritual martial art, Rushing Thunder Palm. At the same time, the other 4 warriors also attacked the light shield almost at the same time. Bang! The light shield was like a mirror and instantly shattered. Whoosh! 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 Lei Yun, Luoying, and Ming Shuang, the 3 8-star martial saints, instantly rushed towards the upper-grade spiritual martial art Flaming Dipper Fist manual. As for the 2 7-star martial saints, they knew that they did not have the chance to snatch the upper-grade spiritual martial art. Each of them rushed towards a middle-grade spiritual martial art manual. Heavenly Bat Steps. Yixing took a step forward. With the perfection stage of the Heavenly Bat Steps, his speed was pushed to the limit. He also integrated the wind force of the micro-realm. Within a small area, Yixing's speed was as if he had teleported. There wasn't even an afterimage as he appeared beside the Flaming Dipper Fist manual. He reached out his hand and grabbed it. When Lei Yun, Luoying, and Ming Shuang rushed over, the Flaming Dipper Fist manual had already been stored in Yixing's storage ring. In terms of speed, even a perfected person who had just entered the astral realm might not be able to compete with Yixing. These 8-star martial saints naturally could not snatch it from him. The gazes of the 3 8-star martial saints locked onto Yixing. There should be 4 of them. There was also Yang Kun in the distance. Obviously, they had not expected that Yixing was not only so powerful, but his speed was also shockingly fast. The Flaming Dipper Fist was an upper-grade spiritual martial art. To the 4 northern sects, it was a very precious treasure. Now, each of the 4 northern sects had an 8-star martial saint disciple here. However, the Flaming Dipper Fist manual had been snatched by a disciple of the 6 southern sects. Chapter 301. The 2 middle spiritual martial arts manuals were snatched by the 2 7-star martial saints. The palace instantly quieted down. After Yi Xing had obtained the Flaming Aura Fist, he had become the target of everyone. Everyone's eyes were locked on him. Facing everyone's unwilling gazes, Yi Xing's expression was normal. He smiled faintly. "I'm sorry, everyone. The Flaming Aura Fist manual is mine. Goodbye." After saying this, Yi Xing walked out of the palace and prepared to leave. "Wait." A voice sounded. As soon as the voice sounded, Ming Shuang, a disciple of the mysterious underworld sect, had already blocked in front of Yi Xing. "What's the matter?" Yi Xing glanced at Ming Shuang. She was a beautiful girl with a cold and arrogant expression. However, Yi Xing knew that she was close to Yang Kun. Ming Shuang's cold and arrogant gaze landed on Yi Xing. She raised her head slightly and said, "You are not qualified to take the Flaming Aura Fist manual." Yi Xing smiled faintly and said, "Haha, if I'm not qualified, then are you qualified?" Ming Shuang nodded and said with a natural tone, "I am qualified. Senior brother Yang Kun is qualified. Even Lei Yun and Luo Ying, who are my enemies, are qualified. Because we are disciples of the northern 4 sects, any one of us can take the Flaming Aura Fist manual. Only you, a disciple of the southern 6 sects, cannot take it." A trace of coldness appeared on Yi Xing's face. Ming Shuang did not care about Yi Xing's reaction and continued, "With your status, you are only qualified to take the middle spiritual martial arts manual. Our northern 4 sects all have young masters who can easily crush you. If you take the Flaming Aura Fist manual, you are seeking your own death. I will use the Pine Sword Technique manual to exchange with you. Take out the Flaming Aura Fist manual, this is for your own good." As she spoke, Ming Shuang waved at a 7-star martial saint. He was also a disciple of the mysterious underworld sect. He had just taken the Pine Sword Technique manual. The other 7-star martial saint was a disciple of the Blue Thunder sect who had snatched the Ice Condensing Finger manual. The 7-star martial sage of the Profound Underworld sect walked over with the Pine Green Sword Technique manual and handed it to Ming Shuang. Ming Shuang waved the secret manual in her hand and prepared to throw it at Yi Xing. Yi Xing raised his hand and stopped Ming Shuang. Looking at this arrogant woman, Yi Xing's eyes were filled with disgust. Ming Shuang frowned slightly and said with an indescribable expression, "Me exchanging the middle-grade spiritual martial technique with you is a gift to you. If my senior brother Yin Fan was here, you would not get anything and would have to kneel down and offer the Flame Gang Fist with both hands. Could it be, you want to reject this gift?" The senior brother Yin Fan that Ming Shuang spoke of was naturally the eldest disciple of the Profound Underworld sect, one of the 6 great young masters, young master Yin Ming. "Gift?" Yi Xing snorted coldly. The corner of his eyes twitched as he said, "I cannot accept such a gift from you. I have something to say to you." Ming Shuang raised her spirits. The other warriors in the hall also pricked up their ears, wanting to hear what Yi Xing had to say. Yi Xing's expression turned serious as he raised his voice and shouted, "Bitch, get out of my sight as far as you can think." Ming Shuang's cold and arrogant face instantly revealed a furious expression. Her shoulders trembled in anger. Her face was as cold as frost as she stared at Yi Xing like a poisonous snake. With a bone-chilling coldness, she said, "You don't know what's good for you. Do you think you can walk out of this hall after taking the Flame Gang Fist manual?" Yi Xing glanced around and said with a raised expression, "Is that so? Who dares to stop me? You are very powerful. We are not your match in a one-on-one fight. But, if we team up, what can you do?" Ming Shuang glanced at Yixing with disdain and looked at the other warriors. Everyone, are you going to watch a disciple of the 6 southern sects take away the Flame Gang Fist manual? If so, we will lose the face of the 4 northern sects. I, Yang Kun, will be the first to disagree. As soon as Ming Shuang finished speaking, Yang Kun's figure flashed and came to Ming Shuang's side. The Sun Moon sect and the mysterious underworld sect had a close relationship. Ming Shuang and Yang Kun also had a good personal relationship. Naturally, the two would team up. Yixing glanced coldly at Ming Shuang and Yang Kun, then turned to look at Lei Yun and Luoying. He heard that the Blue Thunder sect, the Celestial Net sect, the Sun Moon sect, and the mysterious underworld sect had a bad relationship. He wanted to see if the Blue Thunder sect and the Celestial Net sect would join Ming Shuang and Yang Kun in suppressing him, a disciple of the 6 southern sects. Yixing had obviously overestimated the bad relationship between the northern 4 sects. In less than 3 breaths, Lei Yun, a disciple of the Blue Thunder sect, stood out and said, I, Lei Yun, will not agree either. As soon as he finished speaking, Lei Yun came to Ming Shuang's side, followed by the 7-star martial saint disciple of the Blue Thunder sect. Ming Shuang looked at Luoying and said, Luoying, this matter concerns the reputation of the 4 northern sects. Won't you do something? Luoying shook her head and said, we just agreed that it belongs to whoever gets it first. Since he got it first, we have to follow the agreement. The secret manual of the Flaming Gang Fist belongs to him. I don't think this will affect the reputation of the 4 northern sects. On the contrary, if we rely on our numbers to snatch something from a disciple of the 6 southern sects, it will really damage the reputation of the 4 northern sects. Our Celestial Net sect will not do such a thing. Ridiculous, humph. Ming Shuang stared coldly at Luoying and said, without a burden like you, the 5 of us will be enough. The secret manual of the Flaming Gang Fist will not belong to your Celestial Net sect. Our Celestial Net sect does not need people like you who bully others and snatch their treasures. Luoying said faintly. She then left the place. Different people had different thoughts and personalities. Although there were no laws in the Star Continent, and the dark side of human nature could not be effectively suppressed, most of the people were treacherous and shameless. However, there was no lack of upright people. The remaining people did not mind Luoying's departure. In their opinion, no matter how powerful Yixing was, he would not be able to defeat 3 8-star martial sages. Moreover, there were 2 peak 7-star martial sages helping him. They were not to be trifled with. How will the secret manual of the Flaming Gang Fist be distributed after we kill this guy? Lei Yun asked. Before he had snatched the secret manual of the Flaming Gang Fist from Yixing, he was already concerned about the distribution of the secret manual. Ming Shuang said, after killing him, the secret manual of the Flaming Gang Fist will belong to whoever gets his storage ring first. The things in the storage ring will be divided among the other 2. Yang Kun nodded and said, I agree. Lei Yun nodded and said, then it's settled. However, Luoying has already left. If you turn against me when the time comes, I won't be your opponent. You have to swear on your martial heart to abide by the agreement. Idiots, are you done yet? Yixing looked at the 5 people in front of him and could not bear it anymore. He said, you are a bunch of trash. You can't even touch the secret manual of the Flaming Gang Fist, and you still have the face to discuss how to distribute it. Pooh. These 3 idiots thought that they could defeat Yixing if they worked together. Little did they know that in Yixing's eyes, the 3 of them were complete trash. Yixing did not care about them at all. Yixing could not be bothered to listen to their long-winded words. As soon as he finished speaking, his figure flashed as he executed the heavenly bat movement technique and rushed toward Ming Shuang. This bitch was just asking for it. Originally, there was nothing wrong, but she just had to make trouble out of nothing. Although she did not come out to stop him, Yang Kun and Lei Yun might come out. However, since she was the one who started it, the first person Yixing dealt with would be her. As Yi Xing made his move, Ming Shuang, Yang Kun, and Lei Yun did not have anything to argue about. They all attacked Yi Xing, and the other two 7-star martial saints were no exception. Sky Frost Sword Technique. Blazing Sun Divine Fist. Rushing Thunder Palm. Ming Shuang, Yang Kun, and Lei Yun used their best skills as soon as they attacked. They were all middle-grade spirit martial arts, and their attainments were close to great accomplishment. The power of the 3 8-star martial saints working together was not to be underestimated. Moreover, the attacks of the 2 peak 7-star martial saints followed closely behind. Yi Xing was not willing to fight them head-on. Whoosh, Yi Xing's figure was as fast as flowing light. In an instant, he changed his position, and the attacks of the 5 people all missed. Where did he go? Ming Shuang exclaimed. Yi Xing's speed was too fast. He was so fast that she did not know where Yi Xing had dodged to and where he was. As Ming Shuang exclaimed, Yang Kun also exclaimed, "Be careful behind you." Yi Xing had actually appeared behind Ming Shuang without anyone noticing. On the 3rd floor of the treasure hall, Yi Xing had easily dealt with the attacks of 5 half-step perfected person puppet guards. Now, the 5 people he was facing were nothing compared to half-step perfected person. Yi Xing weaved through their attacks as if he was in an unstoppable state. Qingming Festival, I will go to the lighthouse to pay my respects to the dead. Tomorrow, I will return to Shenyang and continue to update. My novel, Supreme Archer God, will have more new content on the official WeChat platform. At the same time, there will be a 100% chance of a lucky draw for everyone. Open WeChat now, click the plus sign on the top right to add friend, search for the public account, Dread, and follow. Hurry up. Chapter 302. Yi Xing's speed was so fast that he appeared and disappeared like a ghost. Hence, Ming Shuang did not notice him when he appeared behind her. Hearing Yang Kun's shout, Ming Shuang's heart trembled. She felt a chill run down her spine. Before Ming Shuang could react, Yi Xing's palm came from behind and slapped Ming Shuang's ear. Bang! Ming Shuang was instantly sent flying. Her ear was covered in blood. Clearly, it had been broken by this slap. There was an explosion in her ear, and then she could not hear anything. She had temporarily lost her hearing. Yi Xing hated this bitch to the extreme. Although Ming Shuang was very beautiful, Yi Xing did not have any intention of showing mercy to her. This slap was very solid. Ming Shuang was sent flying. She crashed into the wall with a loud bang. She fell to the ground and rolled for 10 meters. Her mind was blank. When he fought with Yang Kun earlier, Yi Xing did not move. He only revealed a little of his strength. Now, Yi Xing used his movement technique. With his extremely fast speed, fighting an 8-star martial saint was like playing a game. Not to mention 3 8-star martial saints, even 10 8-star martial saints would not be able to touch Yi Xing's clothes. Yi Xing suddenly appeared behind Ming Shuang and sent her flying with a slap. This deeply shocked the other 4 cultivators. Their expressions changed greatly. Lei Yun and Yang Kun's hearts jumped. Only now did they understand that Yi Xing was much more terrifying than they had expected. At this moment, Yi Xing did not give his opponent any time to react. Once he attacked, his power was like thunder and lightning. In a flash, he rushed towards Yang Kun. Yang Kun was shocked. He quickly retreated. At the same time, he used his defensive technique to defend with all his strength. Yi Xing was as fast as a phantom, disappearing in a flash. Yang Kun lost track of Yi Xing in an instant. He didn't know where to defend, so he could only defend from all directions. If it was just defending from one direction, Yi Xing would have had some trouble breaking through the other party's defenses. But now that Yang Kun had spread his celestial essence in all directions, how could he stop Yi Xing? Yi Xing instantly appeared at the weakest point of Yang Kun's defense. His hand was as fast as lightning as he ruthlessly struck out with his palm. The celestial essence instantly collapsed, and Yixing's palm turned into a seal that instantly covered Yang Kuan's face. Bang! Just like Ming Shuang, Yang Kuan was also sent flying by Yixing's slap, his face covered in blood. Lei Yunhun was frightened out of his wits. He looked at Yixing and his heart thumped rapidly. He quickly ran out of the hall and shouted, "We will mind our own business and have nothing to do with each other." Unrelated? When you attacked just now, you didn't say that we were unrelated. Yixing said. As he spoke, his body turned into a stream of light and caught up with Lei Yunhun. Lei Yunhun heard the sound of the wind behind him and immediately turned around to shoot out 2 palm strikes. Bang! Thunder rumbled and electric arcs flashed. Lei Yunhuan's thunder-rushing palm had amazing power. In terms of cultivation, he was slightly inferior to Yang Kuan. But in terms of strength, he was stronger than Yang Kuan. Then die for me. As Lei Yunhun shot out his palm, he roared, "This father is the strongest among the 4 of you." However, as soon as his voice fell, his expression suddenly changed. He saw that the 2 thunder-rushing palm strikes he shot out had both hit empty air. Lei Yunhun was shocked. He had clearly determined Yixing's position by listening to the wind. How could his attack miss? Yixing's speed was faster than Lei Yunhun had imagined. Just as Lei Yunhuan's thunder-rushing palm strikes ran out, Yixing instantly appeared in front of Lei Yunhun and slapped out. This palm strike was fast to the extreme. Lei Yun desperately retreated backward and waved his hand to block the attack. However, he couldn't dodge the attack, nor could he block it. Bang! A bloody handprint appeared on Lei Yunhuan's face as he was also sent flying by Yixing's slap. At this moment, Yixing made his move. Although he did not use the dark spirit spear art, he used his hand as a spear. When he shot out his palm, it was combined with the spear's momentum. Although it was not as powerful as a spirit weapon treasure spear, it was still very terrifying. Ming Shuang, Yang Kuan, and Lei Yunhun were all hit in the head by Yixing's palm. Their brains were shaken and completely blank. They fell to the ground and could not get up. The other 2 7-star martial saints looked at each other at this moment. Their legs were trembling and they did not dare to fight or escape. They looked at Yixing with fear and disbelief. The scene in front of them was indeed too unbelievable. Yixing was beating up an 8-star martial saint like he was swatting flies. Every slap was accurate, and every slap was enough to knock down an 8-star martial saint. Even a demonic genius with the strength of a peak 8-star martial saint would not be able to send an 8-star martial saint flying with a slap. Pa! Pa! Yixing was too lazy to talk to the 2 of them. He rushed up and slapped the 2 7-star martial saints, sending them flying. They also fell to the ground and could not get up. A bunch of trash. Yixing said coldly and left the hall. The 5 of them wanted Yixing's life. Yixing only gave each of them a slap, which was enough. If Luoying of the Tian Luo sect, Feng Yu and Fang Zhe of the Divine Wind sect did not know that Yixing was with these people, the 5 of them would not have just been slapped. Yixing's principle was very simple. He would treat others the same way they treated him. If anyone wanted his life, he would repay it back. It was a pity that these were the disciples of the 4 northern sects. Yixing could not take their lives because the Falling Star sect was still unable to compete with the 4 northern sects. Not long after leaving the hall, Yixing found a formation light door. He left the chaotic space and returned to the normal area of the Green Cloud ancient land. Counting the days, he had been in the chaotic space for 15 days since he entered Cumulus Valley. Yixing had spent 5 days on the journey, so it had been 20 days since he entered Qingyun ancient land. In these 20 days, Yixing did not go to many places, but his harvest was incredible. Compared to the harvest in the treasure hall, the upper-grade spiritual martial skill, Flame Aura Fist, could only be regarded as trash. The supreme-grade spiritual martial skill, Eye of Green Cloud, was something that even the superior one-star sects wanted. It was the only one in the Green Cloud region and was more precious than the 10 sects in the Green Cloud region. The supreme-grade flying spiritual artifact, the Azure Cloud Wings, was truly a priceless treasure. It could be upgraded and had unlimited potential. As long as there were enough Azure Gold materials to absorb, it could become an immortal artifact in the future. Such a treasure would make even supremacies jealous. The Wings of Azure Cloud, the Eyes of Azure Cloud, and the secret manual of the Fire Dipper Fist. Yixing had no regrets in this trip to the Azure Cloud ancient land, as the treasures he had obtained had far exceeded his expectations. Moreover, Yixing's harvest was not only that. He had reached the complete realm for both the Dark Spirit Spear skill and the Sky Bat Steps. This was also a great harvest. If it were not for the puppet guard in the treasure hall, Yixing would not have been able to reach the complete realm in such a short time. I wonder how the disciples of the Falling Stars sect and the Spiritual Moon sect are doing. Did they get anything? Did they encounter any danger? Yixing wandered aimlessly in the Green Cloud ancient land and thought of the disciples of the Falling Stars sect and the Spiritual Moon sect. He thought that he would be able to come out quickly after entering the Cumulus Valley. He did not expect to be in there for half a month. When he came out, he was no longer in the Cumulus Valley. Yixing climbed to the top of a tall mountain and used the Eye of Green Cloud to look into the distance. With Yixing's eyesight, he could see snakes, insects, rats, and ants 40 miles away. The range of his eyesight was 10 times that of other martial sages. According to the mountain peaks and the terrain, Yixing could tell that the Cumulus Valley should be very far away from here. The map that Zi Shanho had given him did not mention this place. Zi Shanho should not have been here before. Besides the map that Zi Shanho had given to him, Yixing also had the map of the Green Cloud ancient land that the sect had given him. Although the Green Cloud ancient land was huge and there were many areas that had not been explored, the disciples of the Falling Stars sect had been there for generations and they had roughly figured out the outline of the Green Cloud ancient land. Yixing took out the map of the Green Cloud ancient land and compared it with the mountain peaks and the terrain. Soon, he was sure that he was not far from the central area of the Green Cloud ancient land. In the central area of the Green Cloud ancient land, there was a Green Cloud Palace. It was a palace that stored countless treasures. For hundreds of years, the disciples of various sects had obtained treasures from the Green Cloud Palace. Yixing's eyes lit up. He wanted to take a look at the Green Cloud Palace. Even though he had acquired a great fortune from the Qingyun ancient land, it did not stop Yixing from wanting to acquire more treasures. From tomorrow onwards, I only need 3 more votes to surpass 200 monthly votes. Please give me 3 more monthly votes. My novel, Supreme Archer God, will have more new content on the official WeChat platform. At the same time, there will be a 100% chance of a lucky draw for everyone. Open WeChat now and click on the plus sign on the top right to add friend. Search for the public account, Dread, and follow it. Hurry up. The Fire Cloud Lion was a Class 3 demonic beast when it matured, which was equivalent to a Taoist who had just entered the astral star realm. Among the younger generation disciples of the top 10 sects of the Green Cloud region who entered the Green Cloud ancient land, most of them were 8-star martial saints with the highest cultivation. There were very few 9-star martial saints. As for enlightened beings of the astral realm, it was rare to see one in 500 years. There was more than one Fire Cloud Lion in the Fire Cloud Peak. It was a pride of lions. The total number of Fire Cloud Lions was between 20 to 30. There were more than 10 adult Fire Cloud Lions. Even when the younger enlightened beings entered the Azure Cloud ancient land, they did not dare to get close to the Fire Cloud Peak. Naturally, it was regarded as a forbidden area by the top 10 sections. Yixing was not afraid of the Fire Cloud Lions. He had the green cloud wings, which was a supreme-grade flying spiritual weapon. He could fly at extreme speed. Even an adult fire cloud lion could not catch up with him. Moreover, he had cultivated the eyes of green cloud, which had an extraordinary effect on demonic beasts. Yixing came to the fire cloud peak to see if he could control an adult fire cloud lion. If he succeeded, it would mean that Yixing would have a level 3 demonic beast by his side. Wouldn't that mean that he could do whatever he wanted in the Azure Cloud Ancient Land? Moreover, Yixing could crush any martial artist of the younger generation in the Azure Cloud Ancient Land without revealing his trump card, including the childs of the 4 northern sections. Although the Yinyang child was powerful and had defeated a 9-star martial sage, the gap between a martial sage and an enlightened being was too big. In front of a level 3 demonic beast that was equivalent to an enlightened being, the Yinyang child was nothing. At the foot of the fire cloud peak, the fire cloud lions smelled something unusual. More than 10 fire cloud lions walked out of the fire cloud peak and blocked Yixing's path. There were a total of 13 fire cloud lions. Apparently, not all of the fire cloud lions had come out. However, the number of fire cloud lions was terrifying. Yixing scanned the super brain and quickly identified that among the 13 fire cloud lions, 5 were adults and 8 were minors. The 5 adult fire cloud lions were equivalent to 5 enlightened beings in the astral realm. The 8 minors were not weak either. They were equivalent to martial sages. The most powerful one was even comparable to a 9-star martial sage. Although there were no human martial artists in Qingyun Ancient Land, there would be a group of them every 5 years. When the fire cloud lions wandered in Qingyun Ancient Land, they would occasionally meet human martial artists. The adult fire cloud lions were familiar with human martial artists. Only a few of the underage fire cloud lions looked at Yixing curiously and showed great interest. The adult fire cloud lions were puzzled. As level 3 demonic beasts, their intelligence was not low. Yixing was only a 6-star martial sage. In front of them, he was just like an ant. Logically, Yixing should be trembling in fear when he saw them. However, Yixing was not. Not only was he not afraid, but he was also calm and composed. He looked at the fire cloud lions like a hunter looking for prey. This puzzled the adult fire cloud lions. However, they were only a little confused. They would not be frightened by Yixing's calmness. An adult fire cloud lion roared, and a juvenile fire cloud lion beside it roared as well. Then, they walked towards Yixing with ferocious eyes. This fire cloud lion was equivalent to an 8-star martial sage. Obviously, the adult fire cloud lion wanted to test Yixing's strength. The fire cloud lion's fur was red and there were circles of patterns on it. It looked like a burning cloud. In terms of appearance, it was very beautiful. However, one should not be fooled by its beautiful appearance. The fire cloud lion was a very ferocious demonic beast. It was said to be invincible in the same realm. It might even be able to challenge those of a higher realm. This fire cloud lion was equivalent to an 8-star martial sage. Other than the Yinyang young master, the other 5 young masters would not be able to deal with it. Roar! The fire cloud lion roared. It was getting closer and closer to Yixing. With a leap, it rushed towards Yixing. Yixing's body did not move at all. He stood in the same place like a deep abyss. He did not dodge or resist. Only his eyes changed. Yixing's eyes suddenly became blurry. It was as if a layer of fog was covering his eyes. Moreover, it was spinning, forming a bottomless whirlpool. The fire cloud lion that was rushing towards Yixing suddenly stopped. Its eyes were deeply attracted by Yixing's eyes. A layer of fog also appeared in its eyes. It gradually spun and turned into a bottomless whirlpool. Then, it ran towards Yixing again. However, this time, it did not attack Yixing. Instead, it ran to Yixing meekly and lay down at Yixing's feet. Yixing's eye of clear cloud had been cultivated to the eye of cloud. He could even control a third-grade demonic beast. Naturally, he only needed a glance to control a second-grade demonic beast that was equivalent to an 8-star martial sage. Seeing this, the other fire cloud lions were shocked. They roared and communicated with the fire cloud lion at Yixing's feet in beast language. However, the fire cloud lion at Yixing's feet only glanced coldly at the fire cloud lions in front of it. It did not have any reaction. Yixing's control over it was impeccable. The fire cloud lions were shocked. Moreover, there was fear in their shock. When the blue cloud sect was still around, many fire cloud lions were controlled by the experts of the blue cloud sect with the eye of clear cloud. Although the blue cloud sect had been destroyed for a long time and the fire cloud lions had not experienced that era, the fear of the eye of clear cloud was still in their blood. In the end, an adult fire cloud lion with the brightest hair roared angrily. Although the fear in its blood was very strong, it was a third-grade demonic beast, equivalent to a perfected being in the astral realm. It was impossible for it to be frightened by Yixing, a 6-star martial sage. After struggling for a while, the most powerful adult fire cloud lion rushed toward Yixing. Yixing's eyes with bottomless whirlpools looked at the adult fire cloud lion. The adult fire cloud lion's movements suddenly froze. It was a little confused. There seemed to be a voice in its mind guiding it, making it have no choice but to follow the voice. It looked at the human warrior in front of it, and a strong sense of awe rose in its heart. It wanted to go over, crawl at his feet, respect him as its master, and obey his orders. Step by step, the adult fire cloud lion's movements became gentle. It walked toward Yixing. A bottomless whirlpool of clouds gradually appeared in its eyes, and its ferocity gradually disappeared. However, in its mind, it was struggling. It was somewhat unwilling. The novel, Supreme God of Archery, will have more fresh content on the official WeChat platform. At the same time, there will be a 100% chance of a lucky draw for everyone. Open WeChat now, click the plus sign on the top right to add friend, search for the public account, Dread, and follow it. Hurry up. Chapter 304. Yixing saw that the adult fire cloud lion was indeed affected by the eye of azure cloud and was overjoyed. If he could tame this fire cloud lion, then Yixing would have an additional sage-level bodyguard by his side. Yixing's heart surged and the corner of his mouth revealed a trace of a smile. Although this adult fire cloud lion had never given up struggling and was unwilling to become Yixing's pet, Yixing was very confident that as long as he had enough time, he would definitely be able to tame it completely. Roar! At this time, the other fire cloud lions suddenly roared. They seemed to have realized that the adult fire cloud lion that was walking towards Yixing was going to be tamed by Yixing like the first one that attacked Yixing. If there were no external disturbances, Yixing could definitely use the eye of azure cloud to completely tame this adult fire cloud lion in one go. However, before he could completely tame it, the roars of the other fire cloud lions immediately caused the fire cloud lion to regain its consciousness. Roar! The fire cloud lion that had regained its consciousness was incomparably furious. Thinking that it actually wanted to recognize the 6-star martial sage as its master, it felt a sense of humiliation and crazily roared. Yixing frowned and cursed inwardly. The cloud vortex in his eyes dissipated and he lost control of the adult fire cloud lion. After the adult fire cloud lion roared, it stomped on the ground and continued to charge towards Yixing with a ferocious aura. This fire cloud lion's fur was the brightest and its strength was extraordinary. It seemed to be stronger than the other adult fire cloud lions and its strength might have reached the level of a 2-star sage. The fire cloud lion was extremely fast. It was too late for Yixing to use the eye of clear cloud again. He could only use the heavenly bat steps and dodge with his fastest speed. Yixing's perfect heavenly bat steps, which had been infused with the slight wind force, was indeed faster than a Taoist who had just entered the astral realm. Yixing's body flashed like a beam of light as he dodged the attack of the adult fire cloud lion. In the blink of an eye, he was already hundreds of meters away. Roar! The adult fire cloud lion roared again. It would not be satisfied until it tore this reckless human warrior into pieces. Azure Cloud Eyes, Cloud Eyes. Yixing used the Azure Cloud Eyes once again, and his eyes were covered with a layer of mist, turning into a bottomless whirlpool. He stared at the adult fire cloud lion fiercely, looking straight into its soul. The fire cloud lion, which had just turned around and was about to charge at Yixing, suddenly shuddered. It felt dizzy again and its mind went blank. The effect of the Azure Cloud Eyes on demonic beasts was extraordinary. If Yixing used it to deal with a Taoist master, it would definitely not be effective twice in a row. Moreover, human warriors' resistance to the Azure Cloud Eyes would get stronger as the number of times it was used. On the other hand, demonic beasts' resistance to the Azure Cloud Eyes would get weaker as the number of times it was used. Now, this adult fire cloud lion was affected by Yixing's Azure Cloud Eyes for the second time, sinking deeper into the abyss. Roar! Seeing this, the other fire cloud lions roared together once again. This time, the adult fire cloud lion did not wake up directly. However, the mist whirlpool in its eyes began to dissipate. The light in the adult fire cloud lion's eyes flickered, struggling on the edge of waking up and sinking into the abyss. The other fire cloud lions roared again and again. Seeing that their roars did not have any substantial effect, the 4 adult fire cloud lions also charged at Yixing. Yixing frowned. Although he was fast, he was not fast enough to dodge the attacks of 4 adult fire cloud lions, which were equivalent to a Taoist master. Circulating his star essence, Yixing instantly activated the Azure Cloud Wings. A pair of azure wings instantly grew out of Yixing's back, exuding a bright light. The Azure Cloud Wings were 3 feet long. With a fierce flap, Yixing instantly soared into the sky, flying thousands of meters high. Yixing's speed was already fast to begin with. With the help of the supreme-grade flying spirit artifact, the Azure Cloud Wings, he was even faster to the extreme. His entire person was like a ray of light. Obviously, the attacks of the 4 adult fire cloud lions all missed. With the Azure Cloud Wings open, Yixing floated thousands of meters high in the sky. He continued to operate the Azure Cloud Eyes. The mist whirlpool in his eyes did not change. He controlled the adult fire cloud lion with the brightest hair and fought for control of its body. Roar! 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 The 4 adult fire cloud lions that were attacking Yixing roared angrily and leaped into the air one after another. Their surging demonic qi circulated, causing a gust of wind to blow, giving them the ability to fly for a short period of time. They flew higher and higher in the air, rushing towards Yixing. However, Class 3 demonic beasts were equivalent to Taoist masters. They could not really fly. They could only glide in the air for a short distance, but they could not fly too high. The higher they went, the slower their speed. The Azure Cloud Wings on Yixing's back flapped again. He was really flying. He was not affected by the height. In an instant, he flew hundreds of meters higher. The 4 adult fire cloud lions could not fly anymore after reaching a height of thousands of meters. They fell to the ground one after another. They could not even touch the soles of Yixing's feet. Yixing kept circulating his celestial essence to keep the Azure Cloud Wings in flight. At the same time, he raised his mind to the limit to speed up the control of the adult fire cloud lion with the brightest hair. The 4 adult fire cloud lions that fell to the ground saw that they could not attack Yixing. They surrounded the adult fire cloud lion that was being controlled and roared at the latter desperately. Roaring at such a close distance was obviously very effective in disrupting Yixing's mind control. It made the adult fire cloud lion, which was about to completely fall into oblivion, regain a little bit of self-consciousness. It continued to be on the verge of waking up and falling into oblivion. In the sky, the azure cloud wings on Yixing's back flapped slowly. The cloud vortex in his eyes was bottomless and was getting deeper and deeper. On the ground, the 4 adult fire cloud lions surrounded the adult fire cloud lion in the middle and roared constantly. They wanted to pull the adult fire cloud lion in the middle out of the mental control. On Fire Cloud Peak, the other fire cloud lions heard the roar and ran down. Another 8 adult fire cloud lions came. These 8 adult fire cloud lions also joined in the roar, causing the roar to shake the heavens. Yixing could clearly feel that his celestial essence consumption was extremely fast while he was flying. He could not hold on for long. Moreover, using the azure cloud eyes to control a Class 3 demonic beast was also very taxing on his mind. His mind could not hold on for long. However, he was about to completely control the adult fire cloud lion in front of him. It seemed that he could do it in the next second. Yixing was not willing to give up and held on bitterly. Yixing released the adult fire cloud lion that he had previously controlled. He focused all his mind and launched a fierce attack on the fire cloud lion with the brightest hair. 1 breath, 2 breaths. Yixing's face gradually turned pale. His breathing began to become rapid and beads of sweat gradually appeared on his forehead. 5 breaths. 6 breaths. After a full 7 breaths, the adult fire cloud lion with the brightest hair jumped out of the encirclement of the adult fire cloud lions and ran away at an extremely fast speed, turning into a fiery red phantom. The adult fire cloud lions around were all shocked. At this time, Yixing, who was in the sky, was extremely pale. Sweat poured down like rain. As the azure cloud wings flapped, his body turned into a stream of light and rushed to the ground in an instant. He landed on the back of the adult fire cloud lion and instantly retracted the azure cloud wings. Success! Yixing held on for 7 breaths and finally completely controlled the adult fire cloud lion. Whether it was celestial essence or mental power, Yixing had consumed a lot of energy. Landing on the back of the fire cloud lion, he tightly hugged the fire cloud lion's neck and let it carry him on its back. The fire cloud lions behind finally reacted. This fire cloud lion had been controlled by Yixing. They roared and chased after Yixing. However, their speed was not as fast as the fire cloud lion under Yixing. This fire cloud lion with the brightest hair was the strongest among the adult fire cloud lions. It was the leader of this group of fire cloud lions. Since their leader had been taken away by Yixing, the rest of the fire cloud lions certainly would not give up. They chased for more than 2 hours until the distance between the two sides was so wide that they could not see each other. Only then did the fire cloud lions give up. On the back of the fire cloud lion, Yixing absorbed low-grade star crystals to recover his celestial essence. After more than 2 hours, he had recovered 50 to 60% of his celestial essence. Yixing did not let the fire cloud lion stop and continued to run. After running for a full day, Yixing was sure that the group of fire cloud lions would not find him again. He then let the fire cloud lion under him stop on a hillside. The novel, Supreme Archer God, will have more fresh content on the official WeChat platform. At the same time, there will be a 100% lottery gift for everyone. Open WeChat now, click on the plus sign at the top right to add friend, search for the public account, Dread, and follow it. Hurry up! Chapter 305. Green Cloud Palace, Green Cloud Ancient Land. Green Cloud Palace was a well-known treasure land. It contained countless treasures. Every time the Green Cloud Ancient Land opened, the martial artists who came in would more or less obtain some treasures from the Green Cloud Palace. The treasures produced by the Green Cloud Palace varied in quality. If one was lucky enough, it was possible to obtain upper-grade spiritual medicine, upper-grade spiritual martial arts, upper-grade spiritual weapons, upper-grade spiritual materials, and other treasures that even enlightened masters needed. Because the Green Cloud Palace was a well-known treasure land, many martial artists came to the Green Cloud Palace to search for treasures. More than 20 days had passed since the Green Cloud Ancient Land opened. It was nearing the end. Most of the martial artists gathered at the Green Cloud Palace to try their luck after exploring the Green Cloud Ancient Land. However, there was an exception today. Many martial artists gathered at the Green Cloud Palace, including the disciples of the 4 northern sects and the 6 southern sects. However, no one was looking for treasures. Instead, something big had happened. The disciples of the Sun Moon sect, the Dark Underworld sect and the Green Thunder sect suddenly attacked the disciples of the Falling Star sect. They captured all the disciples of the Falling Star sect in the Green Cloud Palace. A total of 9 disciples of the Falling Star sect came to the Green Cloud Palace. Except for Yixing, all of them were there. The 9 disciples of the Falling Star sect were caught by the disciples of the 4 northern sects. All of them were shocked. They did not dare to resist and were all taken out of the Green Cloud Palace. A total of 3 sects of the northern 4 sects had joined hands to capture a disciple of another sect. This had never happened before in the history of the Azure Cloud Ancient Land. Everyone was shocked. Most of them temporarily gave up on the treasure hunt and came to the Azure Cloud Palace to see what was going on. Outside the Green Cloud Palace, there were 70 to 80 people. Except for the disciples of the East Supporting Sect and the Flying Cloud Sect, only a few of the other 120 people had died. 2/3 of them came to the Green Cloud Palace. 2/3 of them were the top elites of the various sections. For example, the northern 4 sects had 5 young masters and 4 8-star martial sages. The people who had captured the disciples of the Falling Star sect were the disciples of the Sun Moon sect, the Profound Underworld sect, and the Blue Thunder sect. At this moment, the 9 disciples of the Falling Star sect were standing in front of the disciples of the 3 sects, trembling in fear. As for the disciples of the Heavenly Luo sect, the Spirit Moon sect, the Divine Wind sect, and the Blood Spectre sect, they were watching from the side. Other than the disciples of the Heavenly Luo sect, the disciples of the other 3 sects were puzzled. However, the eldest disciple of the Divine Wind sect, Feng Yu, and the second disciple, Feng Zhe, seemed to be deep in thought. Standing in front of the 9 disciples of the Falling Star sect were 4 young masters. Young Master Sun Moon, Young Master Great Sun, Young Master Dark Nether, Young Master Thunder. In the Azure Cloud Ancient Land, each of them had their own opportunities and their cultivations had increased. Young Master Sun Moon had already broken through to become an 8-star martial sage and his strength was even more terrifying. He was probably invincible among the 9-star martial sages. As for Young Master Great Sun, Young Master Nether Shadow, and Young Master Thunder, their cultivations had increased to the peak of the 8-star martial sage realm. When they were 8-star martial sages, they were already invincible among the 8-star martial sages. Now, they could defeat ordinary 9-star martial sages. In addition, Young Master Tian Luo, who was at the side, had his own opportunities. His cultivation had broken through to the next realm and he had become a 9-star martial sage. He stood out among the young masters and was almost on par with Young Master Sun Moon. As for Ma Ren and the other disciples of some of them had their own opportunities and their cultivations had increased. However, compared to the 4 young masters in front of them, they were not at the same level. Under the gaze of Young Master Sun Moon, Young Master Great Sun, Young Master Nether Shadow, and Young Master Thunder, as well as the other disciples of the Sun Moon sect, the Profound Underworld sect, and the Blue Thunder sect, Ma Ren and the other disciples of the Falling Star sect could only feel their scalps go numb and their hearts skip a beat. They did not know how they had offended the disciples of the 3 sections. However, they could feel that something was amiss and they were terrified. As the eldest senior brother, even though Ma Ren was afraid and his scalp was numb, he could only step forward and say, "Senior brothers, I don't know how the disciples of the Falling Star sect have offended you. I apologize to all of you and hope that you can be magnanimous and forgive us. We did not mean to offend you. We really did not mean to offend you. Young Master Nether Shadow snorted coldly and walked forward step by step. Soon, he was in front of Ma Ren. Before he could say anything, young Master Nether Shadow slapped Ma Ren's face. Ma Ren was shocked and he quickly dodged. However, how could he be faster than young Master Nether Shadow? Slap! With a crisp sound, Ma Ren spat out blood and was sent flying by young Master Nether Shadow. The disciples of the Falling Star sect were shocked. They did not know how they had offended young Master Nether Shadow. However, young Master Nether Shadow did not say anything and directly hit Ma Ren. He did not take the Falling Star sect seriously at all. However, even so, they could only endure. When the strength was not equal, there was no reason to speak. Even if young Master Nether Shadow hit Ma Ren for no reason, who would dare to say no? Young Master Nether Shadow's sharp eyes swept across the faces of the Falling Star sect disciples and said, "Who do you think you are? How dare you offend me?" Ma Ren, who fell to the ground, spat out a mouthful of blood mixed with some broken teeth. When he opened his mouth, he felt a sharp pain on his face. But he was not frightened by the pain. He stood up again and said, "You are the high and mighty disciples of the 4 northern sects. We have no right to offend you. But you should tell us how we disciples of the Falling Stars sect have offended you. Let us know when we're dead. But you hit us without saying a word. Is there any reason left?" Whoosh! Young Master Nether Shadow moved like a ghost and appeared in front of Ma Ren in an instant. He stretched out his hand and grabbed at Ma Ren's neck. Ma Ren was furious. Young Master Nether Shadow attacked without saying a word. He had gone too far. However, even though Ma Ren was filled with anger, it was useless. No matter how he dodged or resisted, he could not stop young Master Nether Shadow's claw. Ma Ren's hands retracted as if they had been electrocuted. In the next moment, young Master Nether Shadow's hand grabbed Ma Ren's neck and squeezed. Ma Ren screamed miserably. Half of his tongue was spat out. This squeeze almost caused Ma Ren to suffocate. Young Master Nether Shadow lifted Ma Ren high and then slammed him to the ground. Bang! With a loud explosion, the ground cracked. Half of Ma Ren's body sank into the earth and stone. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Whether it was the disciples of the Falling Star sect or the other 6 southern sects, they were all frightened at this moment. This was too much of a bully. In the eyes of young Master Nether Shadow, the disciples of the 6 southern sects were not humans. Even if the Divine Wind sect, Blood Ghost sect, and Falling Star sect were hostile camps, the disciples of these 2 sects couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts when they saw Ma Ren being beaten up by young Master Nether Shadow for no reason. At the same time, if the disciples of the 6 southern sects provoked young Master Nether Shadow or the disciples of the other 4 northern sects, their fate would be the same as Ma Ren's. Young Master Nether Shadow had already seriously injured Ma Ren, but he didn't stop. He stepped out again and ruthlessly stomped on Ma Ren's chest. At the same time, he shouted, "Reason?" Puff! Ma Ren suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and flew more than 2 meters high. Young Master Nether Shadow raised his foot again and stomped on Ma Ren's face for the second time. He shouted, "I am the reason. If I want to stomp you to death, I'll stomp you to death." Reckless thing. Ma Ren's mouth was filled with blood. He opened his mouth but couldn't say a word. Trash that can't even withstand a single blow. Young Master Nether Shadow retracted his foot and said with disdain. He then walked toward the other 8 disciples of the Falling Star sect. The 8 people's hearts were thumping and their legs were trembling. They were full of fear for young Master Nether Shadow. This person was simply a demon. He was unreasonable. Although the Star Continent didn't pay attention to reason, it was rare to see someone who didn't pay attention to reason. Moreover, although the Star Continent respected the strong, there was also a set of rules. Rules were the cornerstone that maintained the complete functioning of the entire social structure. Breaking the rules would easily provoke public anger. Young Master Nether Shadow's action obviously broke the rules. In the world of martial artists, it was all about repaying kindness with kindness and revenge with revenge. If one stepped on others for no reason, no one would like it. Even the disciples of the Sun Moon sect, Blue Thunder sect, and Stygian sect thought that young Master Nether Shadow's action was too much. Of course, no one dared to say it out loud. The novel, Supreme Archer God, will have more fresh content on the official WeChat platform. At the same time, there's a 100% chance of a lucky draw for everyone. Open WeChat now, click the plus sign at the top right to add friend, search for the public account, Dread, and follow it. Hurry up. Chapter 306. The closer the Dark Nether young master got, the more terrified the 8 Falling Star sect disciples became. By the time the Dark Nether young master was in front of them, their legs had already turned to jelly. Some of them were even sweating profusely. The Dark Nether young master's eyes were like the eyes of a viper as he coldly scanned their faces. Suddenly, he roared, "Trash, kneel down." Thump, 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 the Dark Nether young master's roar completely destroyed the 8 people's psychological defenses. Qi Jingyang, Wu Chenggang, and more than half of the Falling Star sect disciples all knelt down. The others also felt their legs turn to jelly. They couldn't stand steadily and their legs trembled. The Dark Nether young master stared coldly at the Falling Star sect disciples who hadn't knelt down yet. He narrowed his eyes, revealing a terrifying chill. With a wave of his hand, a cold light shot out. The cold light was like a sharp blade, slicing across their knees. Then, screams rang out as their knees were dripping with blood. All of them knelt down. "Today, I will make you beg for death. I will make you pay for the humiliation my junior sister suffered 10-fold, no, 100-fold. The Dark Nether young master said harshly, his voice revealing a bone-chilling chill. Whoosh, as he spoke, a cold light appeared in his hand. It was a long sword with a threatening chill. Judging from its quality, it was definitely a top-notch mid-grade spiritual weapon. Enough. At this moment, a voice came from the side. Under Mo Shilan's request and Luo Ying's signal, young Master Tian Luo spoke. Every injustice has its perpetrator, every debt has its debtor. Yi Xing hurt your junior sister, so go ahead and take revenge on him. Why vent your anger on the other disciples of the Starfall sect? The punishment for the disciples of the Starfall sect is enough. Some of the people who didn't know what was going on were shocked. After hearing young Master Tian Luo's words, they understood why the Falling Star sect disciples would suffer from the Dark Nether young master's revenge. It turned out that the eldest disciple of the Falling Star sect had injured a disciple of the Dark Nether sect. No matter if it was the disciples of the Spirit Moon sect, the Holy Wind sect, or the Dark Blood sect, other than Feng Yu and Fang Zhe, no one expected that the disciple of the Dark Nether sect that Yi Xing had injured was not an ordinary disciple, but an 8-star martial Saint Ming Shuang, who was the second person of the Dark Nether sect. As for Feng Yu and Fang Zhe, they were shocked. They had guessed this in their hearts, but they immediately rejected it. The two of them did not see what had happened. They found it hard to believe that Yi Xing, who was only a 6-star martial saint, was able to injure an 8-star martial saint, Ming Shuang. Moreover, since Yi Xing had injured Ming Shuang, it meant that the other 8-star martial saints had also been injured by him. Otherwise, why would the disciples of the Sun Moon sect and the Blue Thunder sect team up with the Dark Underworld sect to deal with the disciples of the Falling Star sect? A 6-star martial saint had injured 3 8-star martial saints. Feng Yu and Fang Zhe looked at each other and saw the shock and fear in each other's eyes. If Yi Xing really had such strength, it would have been easy for him to take their lives that day. Young Master Tian Luo's words made the Dark Nether young master frown. Young Master Tian Luo used to be as famous as him, but now, his cultivation was a level higher than his. However, the difference in cultivation didn't mean anything. As a young master, the Dark Nether young master naturally didn't fear young master Tian Luo. The Dark Nether young master said, "Luo Lai, it's none of your business that I'm dealing with the trash of the Falling Star sect." Young master Tian Luo said, "As a young master, you're fighting with a few ordinary disciples of the Falling Star sect. Aren't you afraid of losing face?" The Dark Nether young master sneered and said, "Hee hee. I'm taking revenge for my junior sister. The Falling Star sect's disciples injured my junior sister, so I'll take revenge on the Falling Star sect's disciples 10 times, 100 times. Who dares? I'll let them know what pain is." Young Master Tian Luo took a step forward and said, "I, Luo Lai, say that you're a disgrace. Yin Fan, if you're really a character, vent your anger on me. What's the point of fighting with someone whose cultivation is far inferior to yours?" The Dark Nether young master squinted his eyes, revealing a bone-chilling coldness. If it was before, the two of them were unrivaled 8-star martial saints, the Dark Nether young master wouldn't be afraid of young master Tian Luo. But now, there was a gap of 1 level between them. With young master Tian Luo's strength, there were probably few 9-star martial saints who could be his opponent. The Dark Nether young master knew that he was inferior to young master Tian Luo. If he really fought with young master Tian Luo, he would be at a disadvantage. While the Dark Nether young master was hesitating, the Yin young master opened the fan in his hand and walked out, looking straight at young master Tian Luo. The Yin young master was wearing a spotless white robe. His skin was as white as snow, more delicate than a woman's skin. His facial lines were soft, and he looked prettier than most women. His whole person gave off an extremely feminine feeling. However, the Yin young master's feminine appearance didn't give off a feminine aura. Instead, his aura was as hot as the sun. The Yin young master waved the fan in his hand and said, "Luo Lai, you have become a 9-star martial saint and you don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. If you are really someone, go ahead and fight with me. What is the point of fighting against a martial artist whose cultivation is inferior to yours?" The Yin young master returned young master Tian Luo's words to him. The Dark Nether young master was an 8-star martial saint, while young master Tian Luo was a 9-star martial saint. There was indeed a gap of 1 level between the two of them. Young master Tian Luo's aura suddenly weakened. He had always regarded the Dark Nether young master as an opponent of the same level. However, he didn't realize that their cultivation was no longer on the same level. However, even though young master Tian Luo had become a 9-star martial saint, he still didn't have much confidence in defeating the Yin young master. When the Yin young master was a peak 7-star martial saint, he had once defeated a middle 9-star martial saint. Now that he had become an 8-star martial saint, he should be invincible among the 9-star martial saints. After a few breaths, young master Tian Luo said, "Yang Ming, when we get out of the Green Cloud ancient land, there will be a battle between us. Why are you so anxious? When did you become like Yin Fan? You haven't found the right person yet and you are venting your anger on others. If that's the case, I will really look down on you. Ha ha ha." At this moment, a burst of wild laughter rang out. It was young Master Dari who walked out. He was as fierce as the sun and his expression was wild and unrestrained. Young Master Dari said, "Do we, the disciples of the Sun Moon sect, need you to look up to us? Luo Lai, don't flatter yourself too much." Young Master Tian Luo's face turned green. Although he hadn't attacked, he had to bear the pressure of the Yin young master, young Master Dari and the Dark Nether young master's aura. The disciples of the Tian Luo sect beside young Master Tian Luo retreated. Under the aura of the 3 young masters, no one in the Tian Luo sect could withstand it except for young Master Tian Luo. "Lei Bao, are you going to be like them?" Young Master Tian Luo's gaze shifted to young Master Thunder. At this moment, he couldn't do anything alone. He had to find someone to join forces with. I, Lei Bao, am a righteous person. I will take revenge for revenge. I will only target Yi Xing from the Falling Star sect. Young Master Thunder said loudly. He waved his hand and led the disciples of the Green Thunder sect towards the disciples of the Tian Luo sect. The Tian Luo sect and the Green Thunder sect were allies. Now that the Yinyang Young Master Dari and the Dark Nether Young Master had joined forces, Young Master Tian Luo was alone. Naturally, Young Master Thunder couldn't sit idly by. Otherwise, if he were to encounter such a situation the next time, he would be suppressed by the other three young masters without anyone to help him. Young Master Thunder stood beside Young Master Tian Luo. The two of them stood together and their aura complemented each other. Although their aura wasn't as strong as the other three young masters, it was enough to contend with them. Young Master Yinming retracted his gaze from Young Master Tian Luo and Young Master Thunder. He glanced coldly at the disciples of the Falling Star sect and said, "Brother Yangming, Brother Yanggan, should we cripple a few of them and teach the Falling Star sect a lesson?" Young Master Dari didn't speak. He looked at Young Master Yinyang. Young Master Yinyang was obviously the leader of the three. Young Master Yinyang shook his head and said, "Not for now. They are just a few ants. We don't have to lose our dignity because of them. Let's wait for Yi Xing to arrive." At this moment, a strong fluctuation of spiritual aura came from the green cloud hall. It seemed like some treasure had leaked its aura. Everyone present felt it and their eyes lit up. Young Master Yinyang said, "Disciples of the Listen Up. All of you kneel here until Yi Xing arrives. If Yi Xing doesn't come, or if any of you get up before Yi Xing arrives, all of you will be crippled of your martial arts and have one of your arms cut off." The novel, Supreme God of Archery, will have more fresh content on the official WeChat platform. At the same time, there will be a 100% chance of a lucky draw. Open WeChat now and click the plus sign on the top right to add friend. Search for the public account, Dread, and follow it. Hurry up. Chapter 307. After the Yin-Yang Young Master finished speaking, he did not look at the disciples of the Falling Star sect and went straight to the Green Cloud Hall. He did not emphasize that the disciples of the Falling Star sect had to listen to him, nor did he care if they dared to stand up after he left. He only knew that no one dared to defy his words. If anyone dared to defy him, the consequences would be severe. As the Yin-Yang Young Master walked into the Green Cloud Hall, the rest of the cultivators also walked in. The Sun-Moon sect only left a 7-star martial saint to guard. Mo Xilan only let out a sigh of relief when the disciples of the Yin-Yang sect and the mysterious underworld sect walked into the Green Cloud Hall. She came to Ma Ren's side and helped him up from the ground. Then, she fed him a healing pill. Ma Ren was heavily injured. If he did not take the healing pill, he would definitely have hidden injuries after a long time. Although it would not be fatal, it would definitely leave hidden injuries. Injuries could be treated with ordinary healing panaceas. However, hidden injuries could not be treated with any healing panaceas. Only some rare heavenly treasures and peerless panaceas could cure them. However, these were all things that could only be chanced upon by luck and not sought after. Therefore, once a cultivator had hidden injuries, they would basically be crippled. Not only would it be difficult for their cultivation to increase, but they might even degenerate. Seeing Mo Xilan help Ma Ren, the 7-star martial saint Wu Ping of the Sun-Moon sect immediately raised his eyebrows and released his aura. However, at this moment, an even stronger aura surged from the opposite side. Wu Ping looked over and saw the Tian Luo sect disciple, Luo Ying, looking at him. Luo Ying was an 8-star martial saint. Wu Ping could not compare to her. Seeing Luo Ying protecting Mo Xilan, Wu Ping immediately weakened his aura. After taking the healing pill, Ma Ren's complexion quickly improved. Senior brother Ma Ren, the Spirit Moon sect and the Falling Star sect are on the same side. When the Falling Star sect's disciples are in trouble, the Spirit Moon sect's disciples should help, but, sigh. Mo Xilan sighed and said, we really can't help. Yixing is in big trouble. Only Yixing can solve this problem. I hope Yixing can solve it. Mo Xilan then returned to Luo Ying's side and led the Spirit Moon sect disciples into the Green Cloud Hall with the Tian Luo sect disciples. Mo Xilan was right, the disciples of the Spirit Moon sect couldn't help the disciples of the Falling Star sect. Not to mention the disciples of the Spirit Moon sect, even the disciples of the Tian Luo sect wouldn't be able to help. Even if Tian Luo came forward, he wouldn't be able to change anything. Outside the Green Cloud Palace, there were only 10 people left. Out of the 9 Falling Star Martial School disciples, 8 of them were kneeling. Ma Ren was sitting diagonally with his hands on the ground. He was severely injured and was not in a good condition. When the Dark Nether young master stepped on him, all of his internal organs had been damaged. His internal injuries were internal. External injuries were easy to heal, but internal injuries were hard to heal. He would not be able to move for a while. Even though there was only one disciple left from the Sun Moon sect and the Dark Nether sect, the 8 kneeling disciples were trembling in fear. They didn't dare to get up. The Dark Nether young master had already said that before Yixing arrived, anyone who dared to stand up would have their martial arts crippled and an arm cut off. Even if they didn't care about others, no one dared to stand up for themselves. Wu Ping's face was ferocious as he walked in front of Ma Ren and shouted coldly, "Trash, my eldest senior brother told you to kneel. Who told you to sit on the ground? Kneel immediately, or all of you will have your martial arts crippled and an arm cut off." Ma Ren's heart was filled with humiliation. He was agitated and spat out another mouthful of blood. If he was alone, he wouldn't kneel even if he had to die. However, if he didn't kneel, he wouldn't be the only one to bear the consequences. All of the Falling Star Martial School disciples present would bear the consequences. He had no choice but to kneel. Ma Ren supported himself with both hands on the ground as he panted heavily. He had accepted reality and was prepared to endure the humiliation. However, his body was heavily injured and his strength was not as strong as he wished. With just a little bit of strength, his entire body was in intense pain and he could not move at all. "Ma Ren, why aren't you kneeling? Do you want to kill us? Hurry up and kneel. Don't drag us down with you." Qi Jingyang shouted loudly. Wu Chengang echoed from the side. There were also several disciples who glared at Ma Ren. They didn't dare to show their anger and resentment in front of the Sun Moon sect and the Dark Nether sect disciples. Instead, they transferred all of their anger onto Ma Ren. Ma Ren's eyes were filled with tears. "Huh. Useless trash, your fellow disciples want you to kneel, ha ha ha." Wu Ping laughed and kicked out, hitting Ma Ren in the chest. Ma Ren spat out a mouthful of blood and flew into the air. Bang! Ma Ren's body flipped a few times in the air before falling to the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. Because of Wu Ping's kick, the injuries that he had just recovered from worsened again. If Mo Xilan hadn't given him a healing elixir, Ma Ren's injuries would have been fatal. Wu Ping sneered and swept his cold gaze across everyone. Everyone shivered and kept quiet out of fear. "Trash, all of you are trash." Wu Ping sneered and swept his gaze across the Falling Star Martial School disciples. He said, "All of you better pray that Yixing appears soon. If he doesn't, all of you will be finished. Your martial arts will be crippled and you will become crippled." At this moment, about 100 miles away from the Green Cloud Palace, a fiery red shadow was rushing towards the Green Cloud Palace. The fiery red shadow was naturally the Fire Cloud Lion. Yixing was sitting on the back of the Fire Cloud Lion. He looked into the distance. Every time he reached the top of the mountain, he could see the shadow of the Green Cloud Palace. The Fire Cloud Lion under the Yi constellation was a level 3 demonic beast, and it was one of the best among the adult Fire Cloud Lions. It was comparable to a 2-star spiritual master, and it was as fast as flying. It could leap hundreds of meters in one leap, more than 1 mile away. After a few breaths, Yixing could see everything around the Green Cloud Palace. He saw the falling star martial school disciples kneeling on the ground and Ma Ren, who was seriously injured and on the verge of death. Yixing's eyes abruptly lit up with 2 balls of flames. His fury was instantly ignited. Yixing patted the back of the Fire Cloud Lion and shouted, "Fire Cloud, speed up." The Fire Cloud Lion ran with all its might. Its speed was as fast as light and it soon arrived outside the Green Cloud Palace. "You bunch of trash." Wu Ping stood in front of the falling star martial school disciples. Spittle flew everywhere and he was still cursing. However, Wu Ping suddenly felt a burst of hot air behind his neck, causing his hair to stand on end. He instantly felt a chill run down his spine. Wu Ping was shocked. His body shot forward in an instant and he looked back at the same time. What he saw scared him half to death. He saw a giant red claw coming at him. The next moment, he was sent flying by the giant claw. His body was dripping with blood and he fell to the ground far away. The sudden change surprised the falling star martial school disciples. They raised their heads and their eyes were attracted by the huge body of the Fire Cloud Lion, which was 6 meters long and 3 meters high. They were shocked. In the next moment, the falling star martial school disciples noticed Yixing on the back of the Fire Cloud Lion. They were overjoyed as if they had seen the dawn and stood up immediately. Qi Jingyang was full of anger, but he had nowhere to vent it. He shouted at Yixing, "Yixing, what have you done? How dare you hurt the disciples of the 4 northern sects and humiliate all of us because of you?" This was all because of Yixing. The other falling star martial school disciples were also angry at Yixing. Although Yixing had saved them by killing the experts of the Dongfu sect and the Flying Cloud sect on the second day in the Green Cloud Ancient Land, most of them had forgotten about Yixing's kindness when they were humiliated. Whether the Fire Cloud Lion was an adult or an immature, it was impossible to tell from its appearance. Moreover, the demonic power of the Fire Cloud Lion was equivalent to that of a perfected being's Gang Qi. It could seal its aura. If it did not show its strongest aura, martial artists would not be able to tell its cultivation realm. Therefore, even though Yixing's Fire Cloud Lion was shiny and majestic, no one had expected it to be an adult Fire Cloud Lion equivalent to a perfected being in the Star Gang realm. If Qi Jingyang had known, he would not have dared to yell in front of Yixing no matter how angry he was. Yixing glanced at the 8 people indifferently. He jumped down from the Fire Cloud Lion's back and walked quickly to Ma Ren. He fed him a middle-grade spirit cleansing pill. The spirit cleansing pill that Mo Xilan gave Ma Ren was only a low-grade one. The effect of Yixing's spirit cleansing pill was more than 10 times better. Ma Ren felt a warm current in his body as soon as he took it. His injuries were recovering at a speed visible to the naked eye. The novel, Supreme God of Archery, will have more fresh content on the official WeChat platform. At the same time, there will be a 100% lucky draw gift for everyone. Open WeChat now, click the plus sign on the top right to add friend, search for the public account, Dread, and follow it. Hurry up. Chapter 308. Yixing helped Ma Ren sit up and said, "What happened here?" Qi Jingyang shouted from the side, "It's all your fault." Whoosh, Yixing moved like lightning and appeared in front of Qi Jingyang in an instant. He slapped him. With a bang, Qi Jingyang was sent flying by Yixing. Yixing said, "You're just asking for trouble. It's the disciples of the Sun Moon sect, the Stygian sect, the Blue Thunder sect. They captured us and brought us here." Ma Ren's injuries were serious. Even with the help of a mid-grade spirit cleansing pill, he couldn't recover in a short time. It was still difficult for him to speak. The Sun Moon sect, the Stygian sect, and the Blue Thunder sect. Yixing repeated the words word by word. His eyes squinted, revealing a terrifying coldness. He said, "The injuries on your body, and the fact that they are all kneeling here, is it all because of the disciples of the three sects?" Ma Ren nodded and said, "It's because of them. However, the disciples of the Blue Thunder sect only captured us and didn't do anything. My injuries were caused by the Dark Nether Prince. It was also the Dark Nether Prince who asked them to kneel. However, it was the Yin Yang Young Master who made them kneel until now. He said that if you didn't come, they couldn't get up. Otherwise, he would destroy all of our martial arts and cut off one of our arms." Yes, it was the Yin Yang Young Master who said that. At this moment, Wu Ping, who was sent flying by the Fire Cloud Lion, got up. Although his body was covered in blood and his injuries weren't light, he was still arrogant. He shouted, "Yi Xing, how dare you! The first and second disciples of the Sun Moon sect are in the Blue Cloud Hall. How dare you hurt me? You're courting death." Yi Xing's eyes were still burning with flames. His gaze instantly locked onto Wu Ping's body. Ma Ren said, "This person is a disciple of the Sun Moon sect. He is in charge of guarding us." Because the aura of a treasure leaked out from the Green Cloud Palace, the rest of the people went in to search for treasures. If it wasn't for Emo Shilon feeding me a healing spirit pill, I would have been kicked to death by this person. Whoosh! Yi Xing's figure was like a bolt of lightning, appearing in front of Wu Ping in a flash. His speed was so fast that he could appear and disappear like a ghost, even faster than Wu Ping's reaction speed. If Yi Xing were to slap Wu Ping now, Wu Ping would not even have the time to react before being sent flying by Yi Xing's slap. Yi Xing was not in a hurry to attack. Instead, he stared at Wu Ping with a sharp gaze and said, "Is the disciple of the Sun Moon sect that great?" A layer of cold sweat appeared on Wu Ping's forehead. Yi Xing's sharp aura made him feel fearful. Even the 8-star martial saint, Yang Kun, was injured by Yi Xing. Wu Ping was very clear that in terms of individual strength, he was far from being a match for Yi Xing. However, as a disciple of the Sun Moon sect, Wu Ping had his own confidence. Especially since the Yin Yang Young Master and the Great Sun Young Master were currently in the Blue Cloud Palace, Wu Ping tried his best to suppress the fear in his heart. Wu Ping tried his best to widen his eyes, replying to Yi Xing's gaze, and said, "The disciples of the Sun Moon sect are that great. Among the 6 young masters, the Sun Moon sect has 2 of them. Among the top 10 sects of the Blue Cloud region, no one can compete with us. The disciples of the Falling Star sect are all trash in front of the disciples of the Sun Moon sect. Trash. If you dare to hurt a hair on my head, all the disciples of the including you, Yi Xing, will suffer. The Yin Yang Young Master and the Great Sun Young Master will turn your bones into ashes." After saying this, Wu Ping let out a sigh of relief. He was not frightened by Yi Xing's aura. He maintained the dominance and strength that the disciples of the Sun Moon sect should have. He was very proud of himself. However, what he did not expect was that his words would completely ignite the flames in Yi Xing's heart. Yi Xing instantly exploded with a terrifying aura. The air around him moved without any wind. The powerful aura condensed into an illusory long spear above him, piercing towards the blue sky. Wu Ping felt that the Yi Xing in front of him had turned into a lone peak. This was a huge mountain that pierced through the sky, making him feel deep reverence. He could only look up to it. Just as Wu Ping was in a daze, Yi Xing's hand made a grabbing motion. Wu Ping felt his neck tighten, and his body was suspended in the air. Suddenly, Yi Xing clasped his neck and lifted him up. Dense celestial essence gushed out and rushed into Wu Ping's body, scattering Wu Ping's celestial essence, making it impossible for him to circulate his celestial essence. His body went soft, like a little chick being carried by Yi Xing. Wu Ping was horrified. He screamed, "Yi Xing, how dare you? Do you want all the disciples of the Falling Star sect to be crippled because of you?" The faces of the disciples of the Falling Star sect changed dramatically. Although Yi Xing had killed young Master Watanabe, young Master Yin Yang of the Sun Moon sect was not someone young Master Watanabe could compare to. Moreover, in the past 20 days, several young masters had encountered opportunities in the Azure Cloud ancient land, and their cultivation had improved. The current young master Dari was far more powerful than young master Watanabe. The young master Yin-yang was even more terrifying. The disciples of the Falling Star sect did not think that Yixing could deal with young master Yin-yang and young master Dari of the Sun-Moon sect. Moreover, Yixing was not only facing them, but also the extremely vicious young master Yin-yang. The disciples of the Falling Star sect knew how vicious the young master Yin-yang was. If they angered him again, they could not imagine the consequences. Therefore, when they saw Yixing attacking Wu Ping again, their hearts almost jumped out of their throats. Yixing, are you trying to get us killed? Senior brother Yixing, please calm down. You can't hit him, you can't hit him. Stop. Stop, don't get us involved. Led by Qi Jingyang, several disciples of the Falling Star sect shouted. Yixing turned a deaf ear to their words. His eyes revealed a bone-chilling coldness as he stared at Wu Ping fiercely and said, "What I, Yixing, hate most in my life is other people's threats, and I'm not afraid of other people's threats. You disciples of the Sun-Moon sect are nothing in my eyes. Not only are you nothing, but you're also smelly, no different from a pile of shit." As soon as he finished speaking, Yixing threw Wu Ping to the ground. Bang! Wu Ping's body slammed into the ground with a loud bang. The ground within a radius of 10 feet shattered into pieces, and half of his body sank into the shattered earth and rocks. Puff! Wu Ping's body was violently hit, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The young master Yin-yang and young master Dari were in the Azure Cloud Palace, and Yixing actually dared to attack him. This was beyond Wu Ping's expectation. At this moment, he could no longer maintain his strong momentum, and the fear in his heart increased greatly. Run! Run! At this moment, Wu Ping only had one thought, and that was to escape from Yixing's evil clutches and return to the young master Yin-yang and young master Dari. However, just as this thought appeared in his mind, he felt something tighten around the heel of his right leg. In an instant, his head felt heavy and his feet felt light. Yixing grabbed his ankle and lifted him up again. Before Wu Ping could speak, Yixing grabbed Wu Ping and threw him to the ground again. Once. Once again. Once again. Bang! 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 Wu Ping was hit by Yixing 3 times in a row. Each time, the ground cracked, and a human-shaped hole appeared. Wu Ping was hit by Yixing until he was half dead and half alive. He only had time to let out a few screams, and did not have time to say anything. After hitting him 3 times in a row, Yixing threw Wu Ping's body with force. Wu Ping's body suddenly flew dozens of meters away, and then fell to the ground again, rolling continuously. After rolling for more than 10 meters, Wu Ping stopped. At this moment, blood was gushing out of his mouth, and his internal organs were damaged. He had suffered extremely serious internal injuries. If it weren't for Wu Ping being a marquis martial sage with a robust celestial essence and a strong defensive power, he would have died under Yixing's attack. Looking at Wu Ping, who fell in the distance and could no longer move, most of the Falling Star sect disciples were dumbfounded. It's over. We're finished. We're finished. Qi Jingyang sat on the ground and howled miserably. Most of the Falling Star sect disciples were also filled with pessimism. Wu Ping was the person left behind by the Sun-Moon sect to watch over them. At the same time, he was also the person who waited for Yixing to come and take Yixing to see young Master Yin-yang and young Master Great Sunday. Now that Yixing had beaten Wu Ping unconscious and on the verge of death, the Falling Star sect disciples knew that Yixing had poked a hornet's nest. Not to mention how young Master Yin-yang and young Master Great Sun would take revenge, just the ferocity of young Master Yin-yang and young Master Dark Nether was enough to terrify them. Looking for a recommendation ticket. The novel, Supreme Archer God, will have more new content on the official WeChat platform. At the same time, there's a 100% chance of a lucky draw for everyone. Open WeChat now, click the plus sign on the top right to add friend, search for the public account, Dread, and follow. Hurry! Chapter 309. Yixing had expected the reaction of the Falling Star sect's disciples. Apart from Ma Ren, who still had some backbone, the other 8 people weren't much. They definitely didn't have the courage to go against the Sun Moon sect and the Dark Mystic sect. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been so obedient and knelt until Yixing arrived. If they were fearless, they would have died standing instead of kneeling. Since they were afraid, they did not know Yixing's strength. Of course, they did not want to see Yixing provoke the Sun Moon sect and the Stygian sect. They did not want to be caught in the crossfire. Yixing glanced at the 8 people who were depressed. Then, he turned to Ma Ren and said, "The disciples of the Sun Moon sect, the mysterious underworld sect, and the Blue Thunder sect are all in the Green Cloud Hall?" Ma Ren nodded, gritted his teeth and stood up. He said, "Yixing, I will go with you. Even if I die, I will not let them look down on the Falling Star sect." Although the medicinal effect of the medial-grade spirit cleansing pill was very strong and could heal Ma Ren completely, it would still require a certain amount of time. Right now, Ma Ren could barely move, much less fight. Even a 5-star martial sage could easily defeat him. Yixing waved his hand and said, "You stay here and recover. I don't even need to do anything to deal with them. A level 3 demonic beast is enough." Ma Ren and the other 8 disciples were stunned. A level 3 demonic beast? A level 3 demonic beast that was equivalent to a Star Realm enlightened being? At this moment, Yixing waved at the Fire Cloud Lion. The Fire Cloud Lion flashed and turned into a red shadow. It instantly appeared beside Yixing. Yixing sat on the back of the Fire Cloud Lion. The Fire Cloud Lion roared and rushed into the Green Cloud Hall with Yixing. At this moment, the disciples of the Falling Star sect realized that the Fire Cloud Lion that Yixing brought was an adult Fire Cloud Lion that was equivalent to a Star Realm enlightened being. The Green Cloud Palace was very spacious, and there were many sub-palaces inside. Among them, most of the sub-halls were sealed and could not be entered. However, there were treasures stored inside. Every time the seal was broken, the aura of the treasures would leak out. The seal of the Green Cloud Hall was extremely powerful. While it was still intact, it was impossible to break through it. However, once it was broken, the defense of the Green Cloud Hall would be greatly reduced. With everyone working together, it was not difficult to break through the seal. At this moment, the disciples of the Sun Moon sect, the Profound Underworld sect, the Heavenly Luo sect, the Blue Thunder sect, the Spirit Moon sect, the Wind God sect, and the Blood God sect were all attacking the seal of one of the sub-palaces. From the cracks in the seal, one could see the treasures in the branch hall. This was a spirit weapon hall, and there were many spirit weapons placed inside. There were 3 upper-grade spirit weapons, 12 mid-grade spirit weapons, and 36 low-grade spirit weapons, making a total of 51 spirit weapons. To the martial artists present, a low-grade spirit weapon was not much of a treasure. However, a mid-grade spirit weapon was definitely a pretty good treasure. Not to mention upper-grade spirit weapons. There were not many upper-grade spirit weapons in the Green Cloud region, especially in the 6 southern sects. Most of them only had 1 or 2, and the most was no more than 3. As for the 4 northern sects, they only had 5 or 6, and the most was no more than 8. However, even the weakest of the 6 southern sects had about 10 immortals, and some even had nearly 20. The number of immortals in the 4 northern sects was even more. It could be seen that in the Green Cloud region, even the immortals mostly used mid-grade spirit weapons. There were not many immortals who had upper-grade spirit weapons. For the 6 southern sects, upper-grade spirit weapons were their most precious treasures. In this spirit weapon hall, there were no less than 3 upper-grade spirit weapons, which were more than many of the 6 southern sects. It was a huge treasure trove. The 5 child-level geniuses all targeted these 3 upper-grade spirit weapons. Among them, Enyang Child and Thunderbolt Child both targeted a fiery red glove among the 3 upper-grade spirit weapons. They majored in fists, palms, and fingers, and their hands were their weapons. However, a body of flesh and blood was ultimately unable to be compared to a divine weapon. With the strength of the two, when they executed their martial arts, their palms were able to clash against a mid-grade spirit weapon. However, they were absolutely unable to clash against a high-grade spirit weapon. If they had an upper-grade spirit weapon glove, it would be different. Wearing an upper-grade spirit weapon glove would not only increase the power of their fists, palms, and fingers, but also greatly increase their defensive power. They would be able to fight against upper-grade spirit weapons. Young Master Dark Nether and Young Master Great Sun locked their eyes on a black spear among the 3 upper-grade spiritual weapons. Their usual weapons were spears, and this upper-grade spiritual weapon was the divine weapon that they had been dreaming of. Although Enyang Child and Dari Child had a good relationship, and their sects had a good relationship, but in front of upper-grade spirit weapons, any relationship was not a relationship. Even if they were fellow disciples, if they fancied the same treasure, they would still have to fight. Whoever snatched it would get it. As for Tian Luo, he targeted a green sword among the 3 upper-grade spirit weapons. Tian Luo majored in swordsmanship, so he was determined to get this upper-grade spirit weapon. However, although there were no other child-level geniuses competing with him, he was not 100% sure that he could get this upper-grade spirit weapon. How precious was a upper-grade spirit weapon? Even if the other 4 child-level geniuses wanted to compete for the upper-grade spirit weapon they needed, they would not let Tian Luo take it away so easily. The 3 8-star martial saints of the Sun Moon sect, the Dark Underworld sect, and the Blue Thunder sect all received the Celestial Essence sound transmission, and they tried their best to stop Tian Luo. Asterisk rumble, asterisk how terrifying was the combined attack of dozens of people? Every time they attacked, the sound was deafening, and the cracks of the seal were getting bigger and bigger. The 5 child-level geniuses, as well as all the martial artists, raised their spirits to the limit. Not only did they attack continuously, but they also reserved their strength and made preparations. They were only waiting for the moment when the seal was completely broken, and then they would rush into the spiritual weapon palace to snatch the spirit weapon they fancied. Upper-grade spirit weapons were what child-level geniuses and 8-star martial saints fought for. Middle-grade spirit weapons were what 7-star martial saints fought for. As for low-grade spiritual weapons, although they were nothing much to them, they were still precious items. No one would dislike having more treasures on their person. Therefore, martial saints below the level of 7 stars all set their sights on low-grade spiritual weapons. There were also some 7-star martial saints who were not confident in fighting for mid-grade spirit weapons, so they changed their target to low-grade spirit weapons. At that very moment, although everyone was alert, their attention was on the spirit weapon hall in front of them. No one noticed that there was a fire cloud lion behind them. It was like a nimble cat, quietly approaching them. Although the green cloud palace was very big, the sound of dozens of people attacking was too loud. Yixing did not take long to find this place. Riding on the fire cloud lion, he arrived behind the crowd. The fire cloud lion was a 3rd-grade demonic beast. After locking onto the aura, its movements were silent. Yixing's breathing was also calm, and he was as still as a mountain. Because of his attainment in wind force, when he and the fire cloud lion arrived, they did not even cause the air currents to move. In addition to the explosive sounds of attacks in front of them, everyone's attention was on the front. Therefore, they did not notice the arrival of him and the fire cloud lion. This was very normal. Yixing was not in a hurry to size up the martial artists in front of him. His gaze also swept past the broken seal and looked at the spiritual weapon palace. His eyes narrowed slightly. He had his eyes on 2 treasures. The 2 treasures were both high-grade spirit weapons. One was a black treasured spear. Yixing cultivated in spear arts, and the purple feather spear could no longer keep up with his realm. He needed a good spear, and this black treasured spear was just right. The other was a fiery red glove. Yixing had obtained the high-grade spirit martial art, the flame aura fist. In the future, he would definitely cultivate it. When he used the flame aura fist, if he had a high-grade spirit weapon glove, not only would the power be stronger, Yixing would also be fearless of any high-grade spirit weapons attacks. Yixing had made up his mind. He would obtain these two high-grade spirit weapons. Boom! Yixing had just arrived, and in just a few breaths of time, with an explosive sound, the seal in front of him was completely broken, turning into nothingness. The barrier that blocked the entrance of the palace had finally been cleared. Everyone's eyes instantly lit up. Whoosh 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 whoosh, figures after figures streaked across the air. The martial artists exploded their speed to the limit, and pounced towards different spirit weapons. The ones with the fastest speed were undoubtedly the 5 young masters. At this moment, Yixing moved. The fire cloud lion beneath him also moved. One's speed was even faster than a true master who had just entered the astral realm, and the other's speed was comparable to a 2-star true master. It could be imagined that when Yixing and the fire cloud lion moved, their speed far surpassed the others, including the 5 young masters. The novel Supreme Archer God will have even more fresh content on the official WeChat platform. At the same time, there will be a 100% chance of a lucky draw for everyone. Open WeChat now, click the plus sign at the top right to add friend, search for the public account, Dread, and follow it. Hurry up! Chapter 310. Yin Yang Young Master and Thunderbolt Young Master both pounced on the fiery red gloves and regarded each other as their only competitors. Rushing Thunder Palm. Scorching Sun Finger. With a loud bang, a scorching light bloomed. The 2 young masters had already attacked each other while they were pouncing on the fiery red gloves. With a loud bang, Thunderbolt Young Master's body shook slightly and his speed suddenly slowed down. Yin Yang Young Master, on the other hand, continued to dash toward the fiery red gloves. As the number 1 existence among the 6 young masters, Yin Yang Young Master had the lowest cultivation, but his strength was the strongest. Yin Nether Young Master and Great Sun Young Master were pouncing on the black spiritual spear at the same speed. They also launched fierce attacks on each other. Using their hands as spears, their celestial essence transformed into dazzling spear lights. When the spear lights collided, the airflow surged. The 2's strength was equal, so the terrifying power stopped their speed at the same time. In the next moment, they pushed their celestial essence with all their strength and used their lightness skills to rush toward the black spiritual spear. As for young Master Tian Luo, who was pouncing on the green spiritual sword, he was also attacked. Yang Kun, Xian Ming, and Lei Yun were half a beat slower than young Master Tian Luo. At the same time, they used their unique skills to attack young Master Tian Luo's back. Star Luo Sword Art. A middle-grade spiritual sword suddenly appeared in young Master Tianluo's hand. With a wave of the sword lights were as dense as stars. Not only did it cut the 3's attacks into pieces, but it also counterattacked at the same time. As a 9-star martial saint, young Master Tianluo's strength was extremely strong. 3 8-star martial saints could not compare with him. The 3 were repelled by young Master Tian Luo in one move. Young Master Tian Luo was no longer blocked. He pounced on the green spiritual sword as fast as lightning. Whoosh! At this time, a dazzling light burst out. It was Yin Yang Young Master, who pointed at young Master Tian Luo from a distance. At the same time, Yin Yang Young Master's expression changed. He seemed to feel a gust of wind blowing beside him. The Yin Yang Young Master immediately reacted. Someone had overtaken him and rushed towards the high-grade spirit weapon glove. He was shocked and furious. He immediately retracted his gaze from the Tian Luo Young Master. The yin-yang young master had just turned his head when he saw a figure flash past the high-grade spirit weapon glove in front of him. The glove instantly disappeared, having been snatched away. Just as Yixing grabbed the high-grade spiritual weapon glove, a fiery red shadow instantly overtook young Master Great Sun and young Master Dark Nether. It was the Fire Cloud Lion. The Fire Cloud Lion's speed was much faster than young Master Great Sun and young Master Dark Nether. It rushed to the front of the upper-grade spirit spear and grabbed the black spear with its claws before returning to Yixing's side with lightning speed. Rip! At this moment, young Master Tian Luo's sword slashed apart the ardent sun finger of the yin-yang young master. Although his speed was slowed down, he had no other opponent. In the next moment, young Master Tian Luo also grabbed the high-grade spiritual weapon sword. The mid-grade and low-grade spiritual weapons were still being fought over. The 3 high-grade spiritual weapons had already been obtained by someone else. Yixing took the high-grade spiritual weapon spear that the Fire Cloud Lion had snatched. Together with the high-grade spirit weapon glove, 2 high-grade spiritual weapons had fallen into his hands. Among the 5 young masters, other than young Master Tian Luo who had obtained a high-grade spiritual weapon, the yin-yang young master, young Master Thunder, young Master Great Sun, and young Master Dark Nether were all left empty-handed. This result was out of everyone's expectations. No one knew how Yixing and the Fire Cloud Lion had appeared. Young Master Tian Luo had obtained what he wanted and was in a good mood. However, the other 4 young masters were all left empty-handed and were furious. There was actually someone who dared to snatch food from the tiger's mouth. The 4 young masters' auras suddenly exploded and became incomparably terrifying. The surrounding martial artists all shuddered. Yixing, he is Yixing. Yang Kuan, Lei Yun, and Ming Shuang were shocked when they saw Yixing. Then, they pointed at Yixing and shouted at the same time. Everyone present was shocked. Even some of the martial artists who were fighting over the spiritual weapons were distracted. Yixing, this was a name that shocked everyone. This was because they already knew that the reason why the Sun Moon sect, Mysterious Underworld sect, and Azure Thunder sect disciples had attacked the Falling Star sect disciples was because the Falling Star sect disciple, Yixing, had injured the 8-star martial sages of the 3 sections. Everyone knew that the Sun Moon sect, Mysterious Underworld sect, and Azure Thunder sect disciples were all looking for Yixing. Who would have thought that Yixing would actually appear at this time? Furthermore, he had snatched the 2 high-grade spiritual weapons that the yin-yang young master, young Master Thunder, young Master Dark Nether, and young Master Great Sun were fighting over. This was no different from adding fuel to the fire. Looking at Yixing, the 4 young masters' eyes revealed terrifying killing intent. Of course, although the 4 of them had strong killing intent, they still had some misgivings about killing Yixing. No matter how weak the 6 southern sects were, they were still a 1-star sect. There were elders of the Enlightened Master realm and even 3-star Enlightened Masters. It would be fine if no one knew that Yixing had killed their genius disciples. However, if the news was leaked, it would lead to strong retaliation. The young Master realm geniuses had not yet matured. Although they were absolute experts below the Enlightened Master realm, they were still unable to compete with an Enlightened Master. If they fought to the death, if the Enlightened Masters of the other sects wanted to kill them, then they would have to face the assassination of Enlightened Masters when they left the sect. They would be in danger at all times. Because of this, even though the young Master Dark Nether was extremely vicious, he had only seriously injured Ma Ren and did not take his life. When the Enlightened Masters of the 6 southern sects killed the genius disciples of the 4 northern sects, they were gambling with their own lives and even the survival of their sections. If they were not forced into a dead end, they would not take such a big risk to kill the genius disciples of the 4 northern sects, especially the young Master realm geniuses. Killing any one of them was like poking a hornet's nest. Therefore, the young masters were very confident that as long as they did not take the lives of the genius disciples of the 6 southern sects, no matter how they humiliated them, it was just a fight between the younger generation. The enlightened masters of the 6 southern sects would not dare to be enemies with the 4 northern sects because of this, nor would they dare to kill them. As for the fight between the disciples of the 4 northern sects, it was another story. The young Master Dark Nether walked forward. His eyes were like the eyes of a viper, fiercely staring at Yixing, full of a tyrannical aura. The young Master Dark Nether said in a cold voice, "You not only dared to injure the disciples of the 4 northern sects, but also dared to snatch the upper-grade spiritual weapon from our hands. Yixing, you are really audacious." In the face of the young Master Dark Nether's oppressive aura, Yixing's expression was as usual, without the slightest fear. Yixing's eyes were also incomparably sharp. The young Master Dark Nether was the murderer who had seriously injured Marun. He slightly narrowed his eyes and said, "Young Master Dark Nether, you have seriously injured and insulted the disciples of the Falling Star sect. In front of me, Yixing, you still dare to be so rampant. You are really audacious. To deal with an arrogant person, one could only be more arrogant than him." All the warriors were stunned by Yixing's words. This Yixing was even more arrogant than the young Master Dark Nether. However, the warriors felt that it was reasonable for the young Master Dark Nether to be arrogant. Because he was one of the most powerful warriors in the Green Cloud region in the future, he was qualified to be arrogant. As for Yixing, although he had defeated 3 8-star martial sages and also showed the terrifying ability to challenge those at a higher level, his fame had just been established. After all, he was not as awe-inspiring as the young Master Dark Nether. In the eyes of the warriors, he was still not qualified, especially to be arrogant in front of the young Master Dark Nether. Ha ha ha. The young Master Dark Nether laughed wildly and said, "No wonder you dared to injure the disciples of the northern 4 sects. You are really arrogant. However, if you don't have enough strength, being arrogant is seeking your own death. You tell me, should I slap your mouth first or break your legs first?" Yixing smiled and said, "Slap my mouth and break my legs at the same time, okay?" Ha ha ha. This time, not only the young Master Dark Nether laughed, but most of the warriors also laughed. Young Master Tian Luo looked at Yixing suspiciously. He thought that this person was either too stupid or had something to rely on. However, young Master Tian Luo did not see what Yixing relied on. The young Master Dark Nether's strength was stronger than many 9-star martial sages, and Yixing was only a 6-star martial sage. As for the Fire Cloud Lion beside him, young Master Tian Luo absolutely did not expect that this was an adult Fire Cloud Lion, a 3rd-level demonic beast. The young Master Dark Nether laughed nastily and said, "Hee hee, good. This young master will slap your mouth and break your dog legs at the same time." Yixing waved his hand indifferently, "Fire Cloud, slap his mouth and break his dog legs. Please recommend me." The novel, Supreme Archer God, will have more fresh content on the official WeChat platform. At the same time, there will be a 100% lottery gift for everyone. Open WeChat now, click the plus sign at the top right to add friend, search for the public account, Dread, and follow it. Hurry up. Chapter 311. As soon as Dark Nether young Master's voice fell, his terrifying aura completely erupted. The air around him surged, and the wind howled. He shot out a palm, and his celestial essence transformed into a dazzling spear that shot towards Yixing. Yixing was just a 6-star martial saint. Even though he had defeated an 8-star martial saint, Dark Nether young Master did not take it to heart. He did not use a spiritual weapon, but a spear formed from celestial essence. A Daoist in the astral realm could form a weapon from the astral essence in his body, which was comparable to a spiritual weapon. However, a weapon formed from celestial essence was much weaker than a low-grade spiritual weapon. Dark Nether young Master only used celestial essence to form a weapon to deal with Yixing. Obviously, he was looking down on him. However, with his strength, even if he used celestial essence to form a weapon, it was enough to sweep away anyone below the 9-star martial saint realm. Facing Dark Nether young Master's attack, Yi Xing's expression remained unchanged. He did not dodge or block. Under Yi Xing's command, the Fire Cloud Lion beside him pounced on Dark Nether Young Master. The Fire Cloud Lion roared and stretched out its huge claw to slap the Celestial Essence Spear. The Celestial Essence Spear was crushed by the Fire Cloud Lion's claw. The Fire Cloud Lion did not use its full strength, but its aura was fierce and terrifying. It was comparable to a half-step Daoist master, much stronger than Dark Nether Young Master. Seeing Dark Nether Young Master's Celestial Essence Spear being crushed in an instant, all the cultivators were stunned. Only now did they understand that the Fire Cloud Lion beside Yi Xing was so powerful. The Fire Cloud Lion smashed Dark Nether Young Master's Celestial Essence Spear with one claw, and in the next moment, its huge claw slapped towards Dark Nether Young Master's head. Demonic beasts were strong and had infinite strength. Their fighting style was different from that of cultivators. They did not have many moves, nor did they use celestial bodies to increase their strength. They only had absolute strength. Dark Nether Young Master looked at the Fire Cloud Lion's huge claw, and his face suddenly changed as he felt a strong sense of crisis. In an instant, a mid-grade spirit spear appeared in the Dark Nether Young Master's hand. It carried a flowing light as it swept towards the sky to block the Fire Cloud Lion's claw. At the same time, the Dark Nether Prince stomped on the ground and flew backward. Bang! In an instant, the middle-grade spiritual spear collided with the huge claw of the Fire Cloud Lion. The difference in strength between the two was like the difference between clouds and mud. The Dark Nether Prince couldn't withstand the Fire Cloud Lion's claw. He felt that the lion's claw was like a mountain pressing down on him. Poof! The violent collision caused the Dark Nether Prince to spit out a mouthful of blood. He was unable to fly back as he wished. Instead, he leaned back and was slapped to the ground by the Fire Cloud Lion's claw. All the warriors present were dumbfounded. They had never expected that the Fire Cloud Lion's strength would be so terrifying. The first claw broke the Dark Nether Prince's attack, and the second claw slammed the Dark Nether Prince to the ground, causing him to vomit blood. The two of them were on completely different levels, like clouds and mud. While the martial artists were still in shock, the Fire Cloud Lion's third claw attacked the Dark Nether Young Master. The giant golden claw slammed down viciously towards the Dark Nether Prince's leg. When had the Nether Dark Prince ever suffered such a setback? Fear flooded his face. At this moment, his heart was truly filled with fear. Stop! The Dark Nether Prince shouted. It was too late for him to get up, so he could only roll on the ground. However, the Fire Cloud Lion's speed was much faster than the Dark Nether Prince had expected. He had only turned half of his body when the giant claw came down. Ah! The Dark Nether Prince let out a shrill scream. The Fire Cloud Lion's giant claw had viciously clawed at his right leg. The Fire Cloud Lion's claw only covered half of his leg. In other words, the Dark Nether Prince would have completely dodged the claw if there had been a little more time. Unfortunately, there were no ifs. The Fire Cloud Lion's claw was extremely sharp. It was even better than a middle-grade spiritual weapon. The claw that had clawed at the Dark Nether Prince's leg dug deep into his flesh, piercing through his bone and coming out from the other side. The Dark Nether Prince's leg bone had been broken by the Fire Cloud Lion's claw. Stop! The Yinyang Prince was enraged when he saw this. He immediately attacked. He wore a pair of grayish-white gloves on his hands. He used the Scorching Sun finger and pointed at the Fire Cloud Lion's head. Swoosh! The finger radiance broke through the void. The Yinyang Prince had used all his strength to attack. It was much more terrifying than the finger radiance that had interfered with the Tian Luo Prince previously. All the martial artists were shocked when they saw the finger radiance. The finger radiance was too fast. The finger radiance was too terrifying. No one could block or evade the finger radiance. Even Tian Luo Prince frowned. He felt great pressure from the finger radiance and had a feeling that he could not withstand it. However, the finger radiance was unable to force the Fire Cloud Lion away. The Fire Cloud Lion held the Dark Nether Prince's leg with one claw. The Fire Cloud Lion clawed at the Yin Prince's finger radiance with the other claw. The Fire Cloud radiance was condensed from the demonic power. It was stronger than the scorching sun finger radiance of the Yin Prince. Bang! The two collided and there was a loud explosion. The Fire Cloud Lion did not move, but the Yin Prince's expression changed and he took 3 steps back. The martial artists were shocked again. The Fire Cloud Lion was so powerful that even the Yin Prince was forced to retreat. The Yin Prince was the strongest among the 6 princes. If he was not a match for the Fire Cloud Lion, it meant that no one in the entire Green Cloud Ancient Land was a match for the Fire Cloud Lion. While the martial artists were still in shock, the Fire Cloud Lion did not stop attacking. After repelling the Yin Prince with one claw, the Fire Cloud Lion clawed at the Dark Nether Prince's head. "Beast, how dare you!" The Yin Prince and the Dark Nether Prince shouted at the same time. The head was a vital part of the human body. The Fire Cloud Lion's attack power was terrifying. If the Fire Cloud Lion's claw hit the Dark Nether Prince's head, the Dark Nether Prince's head would burst open. However, the Fire Cloud Lion did not care about their shouts. It only obeyed Yi Xing's command and did not hesitate to hit the Dark Nether Prince's head. Ah! The Dark Nether young master let out a mournful shriek and howled miserably. The Fire Cloud Lion didn't smash the Dark Nether young master's head, but its sharp claws slashed across the Dark Nether young master's mouth. A deep wound instantly appeared on the upper and lower lips of the Dark Nether young master. His entire mouth was split into 4, and even 2 of his front teeth were knocked out, dripping with blood. Although the injury was not fatal, it was extremely painful. It was more than 10 times more painful than the broken bones in his legs. No wonder the Dark Nether Prince kept screaming miserably. However, the more he screamed, the more intense the pain in his mouth was. The severe pain made his tears flow. His face was covered with tears and blood. The Fire Cloud Lion had received the order to break the Dark Nether Prince's legs and break his mouth. The mission was completed. The Dark Nether Prince's screams aroused the Fire Cloud Lion's ferocious nature. It pressed its claws on the Dark Nether Prince's chest and stretched its head towards the Dark Nether Prince's head with its mouth wide open. Roar! The Fire Cloud Lion's roar was several times louder than the Dark Nether Prince's screams. It shook the ears of the martial artists present and caused their saliva to splatter all over the Dark Nether Prince's face. The Dark Nether Prince was directly in front of the Fire Cloud Lion's roar. The roar he heard was several times louder than the other martial artists. His ears buzzed and his mind went blank. He was directly knocked unconscious by the Fire Cloud Lion's roar. Seeing the scene in front of them, the martial artists looked at each other. They thought that the Dark Nether Prince was qualified to be arrogant and that Yi Xing was not. Now, it seemed that they were wrong. Yi Xing was not arrogant. He was completely confident. With such a powerful monster beast, crushing the Dark Nether Prince would be as easy as flipping his hand. The Dark Nether Prince was arrogant in front of him. This was true arrogance. The Stygian sect disciples looked at the unconscious Dark Nether Prince and were all dumbfounded. Especially Ming Xuan, her eyes were filled with disbelief. She thought that the Dark Nether Prince could easily crush Yi Xing. Therefore, when they were fighting for the Flame Dipper Fist Manual, even though Yi Xing's strength surpassed hers, she still didn't put Yi Xing in her eyes. Now, he realized how stupid he was. He was simply an idiot. The Yin Yang Young Master, the Great Sun Young Master, and the Thunder Young Master were all shocked by the Fire Cloud Lion's strength. They didn't dare to act rashly. The intense pain in his mouth and legs quickly caused the Dark Nether Prince to wake up from his unconscious state. As soon as he woke up, the pain was 100 times more intense. He began to groan again. Yixing walked up from behind and came to the Dark Nether Prince's side. He stepped on him. The novel, Supreme Archer God, will have more new content on the official WeChat platform. At the same time, there is a 100% chance of a lucky draw for everyone. Open WeChat now and click on the plus sign at the top right to add friend. Search for the public account, Dread, and follow it. Hurry up. Chapter 312. Yixing stepped on the Dark Nether young master's chest and said, "When you humiliated my Meteor Sect disciples and made them kneel, did you ever think that you would be trampled under the feet of a Meteor Sect disciple?" The Dark Nether young master's lips were split into 4 and filled with blood. He was in so much pain that he couldn't speak at all. However, from the way he glared at Yixing, it was obvious that he was filled with hatred and indignation. Yixing stepped hard on the Dark Nether young master's chest. The Dark Nether young master howled in pain and fear finally appeared in his eyes. Yixing's gaze was like a sword as he stared at the Dark Nether young master and said, "You also know anger? You also know indignation? When you humiliated others, didn't you know that you would have such a day? Trash like you who doesn't care about the lives of others is only fit to be trampled under the feet of others. Trash?" The Dark Nether young master's eyes were spitting fire as he struggled violently. He was a genius of his generation and no one had ever called him trash. However, with the Fire Cloud Lion stepping on his chest, he couldn't get up at all. Furthermore, the more he struggled, the more the Fire Cloud Lion's sharp claws pierced into his leg wound. He groaned in pain and immediately deflated. The martial artists were shocked and sighed in their hearts. The Dark Nether young master's reputation was ruined. He had become a stepping stone for another genius. Eldest senior brother. When the Dark Nether sect disciples saw the Dark Nether young master howling in pain, they were furious and anxious. The Yinyang young master walked out again and said, "Yixing, you're just relying on your demonic beast. What right do you have to show off and be arrogant? Without the demonic beast's help, the Dark Nether young master can crush you with one hand. What ability do you have? You're just a piece of trash. Hurry up and release the Dark Nether young master." Yixing glanced at the Yin-Yang young master and sneered, "Haha. Who do you think you are? Do you think you have the right to criticize me? Could it be that only you are allowed to flaunt your prowess by relying on your sect, but I'm not allowed to do so by relying on my demonic beast? I'm going to be arrogant today. I'm going to trample all of you tyrannical people under my feet and let you have a taste of being humiliated." The Yin-Yang young master's face was ashen. He was so angry that he almost turned green. He was a monstrous genius that only appeared once every 1,000 years in the Qingyun region. He was the best of his generation. No one had ever dared to speak to him like this. The disciples of the Sun Moon sect were also infuriated. They did not expect that Yixing would have such a powerful demonic beast. However, they were now in a dangerous situation where even a half-step enlightened being could not turn the situation around. They were worried that Yixing would not be able to resist. As for Yixing himself, he was much more relaxed. Facing the 3 young masters, his expression was still calm. This made the doubts in the Tian Luo young master's heart become heavier. Based on his intuition, he felt that Yixing was a smart person and would not do anything stupid. Therefore, Yixing should have a stronger trump card. However, the Tian Luo young master did not know what kind of trump card Yixing had that could resist the 3 young masters. The Tian Luo young master widened his eyes and stared at Yixing. When he saw the corner of Yixing's mouth curl up, he was sure that Yixing must have some tricks up his sleeve. The Yin-Yang young master, the Great Sun young master, and the Thunder young master would probably follow in the footsteps of the Dark Nether young master and suffer in the hands of Yixing. Yixing did not wait for the other party to attack first. He waved his hand and said, "Fire Cloud Lion, take them down." Roar, the fire cloud lion roared and a terrifying aura erupted. It leaped and pounced towards the Yin-Yang young master and the Thunder young master. Everyone was startled by the roar of the fire cloud lion, and their hearts trembled instinctively. In an instant, everyone reacted. This was not a level 2 demonic beast, it was a level 3 demonic beast. A level 3 demonic beast was equivalent to a astral realm enlightened being. Who here could resist it? Even the Yin-Yang young master, who was known as the strongest junior in the Qingyun region, could not withstand a single blow from an astral realm enlightened being. When the fire cloud lion revealed the terrifying aura of a level 3 demonic beast, the Yin-Yang young master, the Thunder young master, and the Great Sun young master panicked. Their expressions changed and their eyes were filled with fear. However, they did not have time to hesitate. The fire cloud lion had already rushed up. So, this is his trump card. He is only a 6-star martial saint. How can he tame a level 3 demonic beast? This is too unbelievable. The Tian Luo young master, who had been paying attention to Yi Xing, was dumbfounded. He could not believe what was happening in front of him. Whoosh! 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 The Yin-Yang young master, the Thunder young master, and the Great Sun young master retreated at the same time. There was nothing to think about. Facing a level 3 demonic beast, even if their strength was doubled, they would not be able to resist. The only way was to run. At this moment, the Yin-Yang young master's advantage in speed was shown. In the blink of an eye, he surpassed the Thunder young master and the Great Sun young master and retreated the fastest. The fire cloud lion's roar came from behind. Its hot breath blew on the back of the Thunder young master's neck, making the Thunder young master's hair stand on end. Especially when the sound of something breaking through the air came, it made the Thunder young master even more frightened. He immediately pushed his celestial essence to the limit. His body flashed, as if covered with a layer of electric arcs. With the Thunder celestial essence protecting his body, the Thunder young master pushed his speed to the limit and rushed forward. However, he still could not avoid the fire cloud lion's claw. Although the Thunder celestial essence was powerful, far surpassing the celestial essence of the same level, the Thunder young master's Thunder celestial essence could not withstand a single blow from the fire cloud lion. The Thunder celestial essence protecting his body instantly shattered. The Thunder young master screamed and vomited blood. With a bang, the fire cloud lion's claw slammed him to the ground. The strength of this fire cloud lion was equivalent to a 2-star venerable. It had only used 20% to 30% of its strength. Yet, the Thunder young master could not bear it. He fell to the ground and could not get up. He was seriously injured and fainted. The fire cloud lion landed on the ground, but it did not slow down. With a leap, it rushed towards young Master Dolly. When young Master Dolly heard the Thunder young master's scream, he was already frightened. At this time, the sharp sound of something breaking through the air roared, which made him even more frightened. He desperately tried to speed up. However, his speed was not on the same level as the fire cloud lion. Before he could rush out of the hall, the fire cloud lion had already caught up with him. The airflow behind him suddenly sped up and became even stronger. The fire cloud lion's giant claw instantly slammed into young Master Dolly's back. Sorry, I can only update 3 times today. Sigh, my mouth is cheap. It's really cheap. Most readers will not remember your 4th, 5th, 8th, or 10th chapters. They will only remember how many chapters you promised to update but failed to do so. I have been fooled many times, but today I made the same mistake again. Cheap mouth. I will work hard to write in the future. I will not set a goal. Sometimes, writing at will is very effective. If I set a goal, the pressure in my heart will affect my state. Sorry, brothers, please bear with me. Please don't scold me. I need to be in a good state to write more chapters and update more. Thank you. The novel, Supreme Archer God, will have more fresh content on the official WeChat platform. At the same time, there is a 100% chance of a lucky draw gift for everyone. Open WeChat now, click the plus sign on the top right to add friend. Search for the public account, Dread, and follow it. Hurry up. Chapter 313 The Great Sun Young Master's outcome was the same as the Thunder Young Master. He was slapped to the ground by the Fire Cloud Lion and could not get up. At this time, the Yin Yang Young Master had already escaped from the hall and disappeared. As the leader of the 6 Young Masters, the Yin Yang Young Master was superior to the other 5 Young Masters in terms of strength and speed. Yixing did not let the Fire Cloud Lion continue to pursue. The Yin Yang Young Master might have some trump card to escape. Since the other party had escaped, Yixing did not pursue. He let the Fire Cloud Lion block the exit of the Spiritual Weapon Hall. In this way, the martial artists in the Spiritual Weapon Hall would not be able to leave. No one would be able to break through the line of defense of the level 3 demonic beast. Yixing let the Fire Cloud Lion block the exit. His goal was clear. He wanted to kill all the disciples of the Sun Moon Sect, Mysterious Underworld Sect, and Blue Thunder Sect in one fell swoop. In the Spiritual Weapon Hall, the disciples of the Tian Luo Sect, Spirit Moon Sect, Holy Wind Sect, and Blood Ghost Sect were all shocked. On the other hand, the disciples of the Sun Moon Sect, the Dark Underworld Sect, and the Green Thunder Sect were all terrified. Yixing's gaze swept across the disciples of the Sun Moon Sect, Mysterious Underworld Sect, and Blue Thunder Sect. He said, "Tell me, how should I deal with you?" The disciples of the 3 sects looked at each other and looked at Yixing with fear. Yang Kun clenched his fists and said, "Yixing, you are using a level 3 demonic beast to bully the disciples of the 4 northern sects. Do you know what you will face when you leave the Azure Cloud Ancient Land? What consequences will there be?" At this moment, they could only rely on the strength of their sections. Yixing smiled faintly and said, "What consequences?" Yang Kun wanted to say domineeringly that the perfected elders of the 4 northern sects would tear him into pieces and burn his bones to ashes. However, looking at Yixing's faint smile, Yang Kun instinctively felt danger. He had threatened Yixing once, but the consequences were terrible. Yang Kun took a deep breath and said, "Aren't you afraid of being punished by the enlightened elders of my Sun Moon Sect, Profound Underworld Sect, and Azure Thunder Sect?" At the mention of their sects, the disciples of the 3 sects straightened their backs, and their expressions became much calmer. Yixing said, "The elders of the sect are all immortal masters. Which one of them is not a famous figure? Who would lower their status and shamelessly interfere in the fight of the younger generation in the Qingyun ancient land? Our Falling Stars sect is upright and upright. We don't have such immortal masters. I believe that the 4 northern sects don't have such immortal masters either." Regardless of whether the other party's veritable personage elders wanted to make a move or not, Yixing would use his words against them first. Whoever made a move would be shameless. The elders of the sect were no longer young and frivolous. They cared about status and face. As long as Yixing did not take the lives of the disciples of the 3 sects, even if the other party's veritable personage elders were unhappy, they had to consider their face and had no reason to be angry. When the younger generation disciples lost in the fight, they could only regain their dignity. If they suffered a little setback, the immortal masters would jump out to support them. Not to mention the immortal master's face, the younger generation disciples relied on their elders for everything. They would definitely be nurtured like flowers in a greenhouse, and it would be difficult for them to become great talents. Besides, the 4 northern sects were powerful, but the 6 southern sects were not ants. They were all 1-star forces. Although there was a gap in strength, the gap was limited. The 4 northern sects could look down on the 6 southern sects, but they absolutely could not ignore the 6 southern sects. Unless there was a life and death grudge, otherwise, the 4 northern sects would not dare to casually crush any of the 6 southern sections. If it really came to the point of life and death, the 6 southern sects may not be able to protect themselves, but as long as the immortal masters of the 6 southern sects were not wiped out, the 4 northern sects' days would be very difficult. Therefore, the relationship in the Qingyun region was very delicate. The 4 northern sects were strong, and the 6 southern sects avoided them, but the strength was not tilted to the point that the strong side could wipe out the weak side at will. As a result, there was a set of rules to restrict each other. As long as the fight between the younger generation was not a life and death grudge, the elders of the sect would not intervene. If anyone intervened, they would break the rules and arouse public indignation. Otherwise, if someone took the lead, other sects would follow suit. The survival space of the younger generation martial artists would be greatly reduced. Moreover, the conflict between the younger generation martial artists would also expand and become a conflict between sections. The entire Qingyun region would be in chaos. In a mess, even the strong side could not guarantee a sure win. Once the foundation of the sect was shaken, even the powerful sect would decline or even be destroyed. Of course, if there was a life and death grudge, it was another matter. A debt must be paid with money, and a life for a life. This was a matter of fairness. There was no distinction between elders and juniors. Yixing's words made Yang Kuan's face very ugly. The momentum that he had just accumulated suddenly weakened by 30%. Yang Kuan was very clear that although the Sun Moon sect was strong, the elders of the sect were really unlikely to intervene because of the fight between the younger generation disciples. Yang Kuan forced himself to calm down and tried to hide his fear, saying, "Even if the elders do not intervene, you have to think clearly. After leaving the Qingyun ancient land, the grand competition of the 10 sects will be held. Now, you are just relying on the power of the demonic beast to defeat the few young masters. In terms of strength, you are far from them. You can think about what you will face in the grand competition of the 10 sects. If you know what's good for you, let us all go. Otherwise, you will suffer in the grand competition of the 10 sects." Yixing thought for a while and said, "If you didn't remind me, I would have forgotten. In the grand competition of the 10 sects, demonic beasts are not allowed to participate. I have to fight with the few young masters. I have already offended them. In the grand competition of the 10 sects, they will definitely not let me go. So, why should I let you all go?" Yixing's words made Yang Kuan stunned. However, after thinking about it carefully, it made sense. Yin Yang Young Master, Great Sun Young Master, Thunderbolt Young Master, and Dark Nether Young Master already hated Yixing to the core. Would they let him go in the grand competition of the 10 sects just because he was a disciple of the 3 sects? Impossible. Since it was impossible, then why didn't Yixing offend them even more? Why was there a need to let the disciples of the 3 sects go? Yixing's expression turned cold as he said, "I've always done things fairly. If people respect me, I'll respect them. If people offend me, I'll also return the favor. Just now, our Falling Star sect's disciples were either seriously injured or kneeling on the ground. I'll return it to you all intact. Either kneel, or, the Fire Cloud Lion will help you lie down." The expressions of the Sun Moon sect, Dark Nether sect, and Azure Thunder sect's disciples all changed. In front of the 6 southern sect's disciples, they were high and mighty, full of a sense of superiority. But now, Yixing wanted them to kneel. Previously, when Dark Nether Young Master made the Falling Star sect's disciples kneel, they did not feel anything. Now that he wanted them to kneel, only then did they know how humiliating it was. "Impossible, we won't kneel even if we die." Someone roared furiously. Yixing's gaze was cold as he said, "If you don't want to kneel, then lie down." Sigh. "Brother Yi." Yixing was about to order the Fire Cloud Lion to put them all down when young Master Tian Luo spoke. Young Master Tian Luo had once spoken up for the Falling Star sect's disciples. Although he did not help much, Yixing was still grateful. Yixing looked at young Master Tian Luo and said, "What's the matter, young Master Tian Luo?" Young Master Tian Luo said, "I have a presumptuous request." Just now, young Master Thunder and the Azure Thunder sect's disciples did not hurt or humiliate the Falling Star sect's disciples. I hope Brother Yi can give me face and forget about it. Yixing nodded and said, "All right, Azure Thunder sect's disciples, listen up. For the sake of young Master Tian Luo, the matter of you capturing my Falling Star sect's disciples will be written off. Go." "Yes, yes. Thank you for your mercy." "Thank you, young Master Tian Luo." The Azure Thunder sect's disciples hurriedly thanked him. Lei Yun helped young Master Thunder up and led the Azure Thunder sect's disciples out of the spiritual weapon palace. "Brother Yi, thank you." Young Master Tian Luo nodded at Yixing and said, "Disciples of the Sun Moon sect and the Dark Underworld sect, please leave. Those who have nothing to do with it, please leave. Don't be a hindrance here." The Sun Moon sect and the Dark Underworld sect were Tian Luo sect's enemies. Young Master Tian Luo naturally would not plead for them. After he finished speaking, he led the Tian Luo sect's disciples out of the spiritual weapon palace. The disciples of the Spirit Moon sect, the Holy Wind sect, and the Blood Underworld sect did not dare to stay. They followed behind the Tian Luo sect's disciples and left together. In the spiritual weapon palace, other than Yixing, there were only the disciples of the Sun Moon sect and the Dark Underworld sect left. Yixing waved his hand, "Hui Yun, ignore those who are kneeling. Kill all those who are standing." Roar, the fire cloud lion suddenly roared and the sound waves rolled. The aura of a level 3 demonic beast burst out, causing the martial artists' hearts to tremble. Bang, the fire cloud lion's body was like lightning. In an instant, it appeared in front of Yang Kuan and sent him flying with a claw. Plop 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 plop, the disciples of the two sects were shocked and immediately knelt down. Thank you for your monthly votes and recommendation votes. Long live those who voted. Long live. Long live. The novel, Supreme Archer God, will have more fresh content on the official WeChat platform. At the same time, there will be a 100% chance of a lucky draw for everyone. Open WeChat now, click the plus sign on the top right to add friend, search for the public account, Dread, and follow it. Hurry up. Chapter 314. Spiritual Weapon Palace. After Yixing left, the disciples of the Sun Moon sect and the Dark Underworld sect who were kneeling on the ground immediately stood up. Eldest senior brother. Second senior brother. The disciples of the Dark Underworld sect ran towards Master Yin Ming while the disciples of the Sun Moon sect ran towards Master Dali and Yang Kuan. The three of them were severely injured but not fatally. After taking healing elixirs, their injuries quickly recovered. Especially Master Dali and Master Yin Ming, who both had medium-grade healing elixirs, the effects were even faster. Master Dali quickly regained his ability to move. Master Yin Ming's broken bones were quickly healing and his cracked lips were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Master Dali's injuries were much lighter than Master Yin Ming's. After a short while, he stood up and his face was filled with a tyrannical aura. "You little bastard. You're finished. You're completely finished. In the 10 sects grand competition, I'll grind your bones to dust, grind your bones to dust." Master Dali clenched his fists and the veins on his arms bulged as he roared furiously. He, young Master Dari, had never been humiliated like this in his entire life. His hatred for Yixing was so strong that he wanted to die. Not only young Master Great Sun, but young Master Dark Nether and young Master Lightning were also the same. Even young Master Yin Yang, who had managed to escape, hated Yixing to the core. After the Azure Cloud Ancient Land was closed, the 10 sects grand competition would be held immediately to determine the ranking of the most elite juniors in the Azure Cloud region. Master Yin Yang, Master Dali, Master Yin Ming, and Master Thunder did not dare to do anything to Yi Xing in the Azure Cloud ancient land. They were afraid of Yi Xing's level 3 demonic beast, the Fire Cloud Lion. Therefore, they unanimously decided to take revenge on Yi Xing during the 10 Sects Grand Competition. The 10 Sects Grand Tournament was a competition of individual strength. Demonic beasts were not allowed to fight. Without demonic beasts, they didn't think much of Yi Xing's strength. After Yi Xing left the Azure Cloud Hall, he did not let the disciples of the Falling Star sect follow him. Instead, he let Ma Ren lead them back to the entrance to avoid the disciples of the other sections. He rode the Fire Cloud Lion and headed towards the Yama Fire Domain. The Yen Luo Fire region was in the north of the Green Cloud ancient land. Even though the Fire Cloud Lion was a level 3 demonic beast, it still took a day to reach the Yen Luo Fire region. From several hundred miles away, Yi Xing could see a boundless sea of fire ahead. This sea of flames was even more vigorous than the sea of flames in the Fallen Star secret realm. It was not that the area was larger, but rather that the flames were taller. Furthermore, they were continuous without any gaps in between. This was a true sea of flames. Not long after, the Fire Cloud Lion carried Yi Xing to the outside of the Yen Luo Fire region. Looking at the flames that were dozens of feet high and the waves of air that were rushing towards them, even Yi Xing was shocked. The Fire Cloud Lion that he was riding was a level 3 demonic beast. Moreover, it was a fire element demonic beast. Looking at the sea of flames, it was unwilling to move forward. The Fire Cloud Lion was not a fire crystal beast. It was not immune to fire attacks. Once it entered the sea of flames, it would be injured by the flames. As for the flames in the Yen Luo Fire region, even an enlightened being would not be able to withstand it. Even if they relied on the astral energy, they would not be able to withstand it for long. However, in front of the Yen Luo Fire region, Yi Xing could feel that the star fire seed in his Dantian star vortex was very active and restless. This made Yi Xing happy. The corner of his mouth curled up slightly. It seemed that his guess was right. The star fire seed and the flames in the Yen Luo Fire region were both extraterrestrial flames. They must have the same attributes. Then, Yi Xing could use the black hole astral avatar to devour the flame essence in the sea of flames. It could enhance the power of the flame astral avatar and even upgrade the grade of the star fire seed. Yi Xing jumped down from the Fire Cloud Lion's back. The Fire Cloud Lion was afraid of the flames here. Yi Xing asked it to wait outside while he walked into the Yen Luo Fire region. In his Dantian star vortex, the star fire seed, under the control of Yi Xing, released a pure white flame that enveloped Yi Xing's body. In an instant, the scorching heat caused by the sea of Yama's flames disappeared without a trace. Yi Xing didn't feel any heat from the flames he controlled. The flames of the stars blocked the heat from the sea of Yama's flames. Shrouded in the pure white flame, Yi Xing walked directly into the Yen Luo Fire region and disappeared. If a martial artist below the enlightened being entered the Yen Luo Fire region, they would die without a doubt. Their celestial essence could not resist the heat and would die in an instant. However, Yi Xing used the star fire seed to protect his body. The flames of the Yen Luo Fire region could not hurt him. He walked unimpeded in the Yen Luo Fire region, more relaxed than an enlightened being. At least, an enlightened being in the Yen Luo Fire region was like fighting a fierce battle. They had to use their star astral essence to resist. But Yi Xing only needed to use the star fire seed. The flames were like an ocean, and the heat was like waves. Yi Xing looked very small in the middle of it. But his posture was like a mountain, and every step he took was very steady. Although he was in the Yen Luo Fire region and was surrounded by flames in all directions, Yi Xing did not feel suffocated. He had comprehended the power of fire and was very sensitive to the surrounding flames. The flames were like his eyes, and he could sense everything around him. Soon, Yixing adapted to the environment of the Yen Luo fire region. He walked faster and faster in the Yen Luo fire region. Before long, he had reached the depths of the Yen Luo fire region. After walking for dozens of miles in the Yen Luo fire region, Yixing stopped and sat down on the ground. "Black hole astrology, come out," Yixing said in his heart. So, a starlight rushed out from between Yixing's eyebrows and turned into a huge dark vortex above Yixing. However, the space around Yixing was not shrouded in darkness. The flames were still bright. The flames here were too strong. Even an enlightened being could be burned to death. With Yixing's current cultivation, he could not use the darkness of the black hole astrology to cover up the light of the flames. But this did not prevent the black hole astrology from absorbing the flame essence in the Yen Luo fire region. The black hole astrology slowly rotated. The endless flame essence in the Yen Luo fire region was swallowed up by the black hole astrology. The next moment, Yixing felt a burning pain in his body. His entire body turned red, as if he was going to burn up. The flame essence in the Yen Luo fire region was too strong. Yixing could not bear it. He thought to himself that it was a close call. If his physical body was not better than other martial saints, he would have been burned to death. However, even if his physical body was stronger than other martial sages, he wouldn't be able to hold on for long. Fortunately, Yixing didn't want to store the fire essence in his body. Instead, he let the fire astrology and the star fire seed absorb it. Feeling the flame essence in Yixing's body, the stellar fire seed in the Dantian stellar vortex trembled. It produced a huge suction force. The flame essence in Yixing's body turned into a torrent of flames and rushed to the stellar fire seed. At the same time, the flame astrology in the space between Yixing's eyebrows gradually grew brighter. When the black hole astrology swallowed the flame essence, a part of it was directly transferred to the flame astrology. The surrounding flames contained a terrible fire momentum. While Yixing was absorbing the flame essence, he could also feel that his comprehension of the fire momentum was gradually improving. What surprised Yixing even more was that his body was being washed by the flame essence again and again. The impurities in his body were burned into nothingness little by little. The same was true for his celestial essence. The impurities in his celestial essence were also burned away by the flame essence again and again. Yixing's physical body was getting stronger and stronger. The quality of his celestial essence was getting higher and higher. His cultivation was also rising unconsciously. With the gradual strengthening of the star fire seed, as his flesh and celestial essence got used to the impact of the flame essence, the limit of Yixing's endurance of the flame essence was getting higher and higher. Yixing controlled the black hole astrology and swallowed the flame essence faster and faster. Yen Luo Fire Domain. This place was known as a forbidden area by everyone. Even the venerable blue cloud thousands of years ago couldn't turn this sea of flames into a useful place and enclosed it in the blue cloud ancient land. However, to Yixing, this place was a treasure trove, an enormous treasure trove. The flame here was the flame of the fallen star, an extraterrestrial flame. It had the pure power of the stars and had the conditions to transform into a flame astrology. It could also be absorbed by the star fire seed. Ordinary martial artists, even those who cultivated fire attribute cultivation methods, couldn't use these flames. However, for Yixing, who had the black hole astrology and the star fire seed, the flame essence here was the best nourishment. It could enhance his flame astrology and enhance his star fire seed. As time went by, suddenly at a certain moment. Kacha, the novel, Supreme Archer God, will have more fresh content on the official WeChat platform. At the same time, there will be a 100% lucky draw gift for everyone. Open WeChat now, click the plus sign at the top right and add friend. Search for the public account, Dread, and follow it. Hurry up. Chapter 315. When a crisp sound came from his body, Yixing was immediately stunned. At that moment, he immediately felt that the quality of the celestial essence in his body had increased by a lot. Moreover, the black hole stellar vortex in his dantian had also expanded, doubling the capacity of his celestial essence. Yixing felt the power in his body and was overjoyed. In the process of devouring the flame essence, his cultivation had unknowingly broken through to the 7th level of the celestial vortex realm. The 7th level of the celestial vortex realm was a 7-star martial sage and could be conferred the title of Marquis. Although Yixing had defeated 7-star martial sages and even 8-star martial sages before, his strength was only comparable to a Marquis. Strictly speaking, he was not a Marquis. However, now that he had become a 7-star martial sage, he was a Marquis. As long as he was willing, he could get a Marquis title in the Starfall Kingdom. Although Yixing was overjoyed, his face was calm and he quickly calmed down. There was still a lot of flame essence in the Yama fire domain. Yixing continued to use the black hole stellar vortex to devour the flame essence. As for the Marquis title, Yixing just glanced at it and was not interested in it. His vision was not in the Qingyun region or the true Xian domain, but the entire star continent. His goal was not to become a Marquis, a perfected person, or even a venerable. He wanted to be a king standing at the peak of the star continent. The Starfall Kingdom was just a small country in the Qingyun region. The title of Marquis was very attractive to some martial artists who could only reach the advanced martial sage realm. However, it was useless to Yixing. With the improvement of his cultivation, Yixing's tolerance for the flame essence increased again. Yixing sped up his devouring of the flame essence again. A steady stream of fire essence was being forcibly devoured by the black hole from all directions of the Yama Sea of Flames. Yixing's fire astrology, star fire seed, comprehension of fire, physical strength, and celestial essence were improving in every aspect. Time passed slowly, and in the blink of an eye, a day had passed. The next day, at noon, Yixing's senses in the sea of fire suddenly sublimated. The range of his senses increased by several times, and the power of the flames became more detailed and clear in his senses. Yixing's comprehension of fire momentum also finally had a qualitative breakthrough, reaching the minute subtlety realm. In Yixing's perception, fire was no longer fire. Instead, it had turned into countless tiny particles. Flames were formed from these countless tiny particles. Sensing these flame particles that were even smaller than dust, Yixing gained a deeper understanding of the essence of fire. With just a thought, the flames in the surroundings began to surge. After reaching the minute subtlety realm, Yixing had a close connection with the surrounding flames. He felt as if he was the god of fire, able to control the surrounding flames. Indeed, under Yixing's control, the surrounding flames began to change. Sometimes they turned into dragons, sometimes they turned into flood dragons. In this sea of flames, Yixing could completely control the flames and kill enemies stronger than him. The minute subtlety realm was something that only high-level enlightened masters could comprehend. Naturally, it was extraordinary. Under Yixing's control, the Yama Sea of Fire began to flow like a real ocean. The flames turned into torrents that swam through the Sea of Fire, sending the flames near Yixing to the distance, and then bringing the distant flames back to Yixing's surroundings. Originally, the flames near Yixing had a large amount of flame essence devoured, causing their quality to drop. However, the amount of flame essence absorbed was decreasing. If Yixing wanted to maintain yesterday's devouring speed, he would have to constantly change his position in the Yama Sea of Fire. But now, there was no need for that. Yixing first controlled the flames in the surroundings, and soon, the flames in the entire sea of Yama flames began to flow. At every moment, flames that had yet to be absorbed by the sea of Yama flames would flow over from afar. The second day quickly passed, and soon, the third day arrived. Before noon, Yixing stopped devouring. He had not completely devoured the flame essence in the Yama Sea of Fire. However, he found that the star flame seed in his Dantian star vortex had reached its limit after absorbing the flame essence. The flame essence in the Yama Sea of Fire could not upgrade it to a higher realm. It could only reach the peak of a high-grade celestial phenomenon and could not be upgraded to an extreme level. Moreover, Yixing's corporeal body and celestial essence had been strengthened to the extreme after absorbing the flame essence countless times. He could no longer use the flame essence to make a breakthrough. Yixing's celestial essence strength had reached the limit of a martial saint. If he wanted to upgrade it, he would have to convert it into astral energy. As for his corporeal body, Yixing felt the power in his body and was amazed. Compared to the power of celestial essence, the corporeal body of a martial saint was weak. Even if Yixing strengthened his corporeal body twice, it could not be compared to the power of his celestial essence. However, Yixing was now very confident in his corporeal body. It was not inferior to the power of his celestial essence. The pure power of his corporeal body was almost comparable to that of a peak martial saint. Yixing stood up. The star flame outside his body had already dissipated, and the flames around him could no longer cause him any harm. Feeling the surrounding flames, Yixing's body slowly rose, and directly floated up on the flames. Yixing's mouth curved into a smile. This feeling of controlling everything, like a god, was really good. He waved his hand, and the nearby flames suddenly changed, condensing together and turning into a huge fire dragon. Yixing took a step and stepped on the head of the fire dragon. The fire dragon broke through the layers of flames, and Yixing flew over the top of the sea of flames. Looking at the endless burning flames in all directions, he felt relaxed and happy. Yixing was really flying at this moment, but with the help of the flames, he could only do so in the sea of flames. Outside of the sea of flames, he was only a martial saint. He could only glide and could not fly, unless he used the top-grade flying spirit artifact, the clear sky wings. Suddenly, Yixing had a flash of inspiration. His understanding of the power of fire was so profound that it had reached the minute subtlety realm. Moreover, at this moment, he was in the sea of flames, and his understanding of the flames was direct to the essence. If he cultivated a fire-attributed martial art at this time, what kind of effect would it have? Yixing thought, and a strong interest arose in his heart. The contents of the secret manual of the Flame Dipper Fist had already been scanned by Yixing into his super brain, and he had practiced it many times in his spare time. However, Yixing had stopped studying the Flame Dipper Fist because it would take a long time to cultivate it. Now that his power of fire had reached the minute subtlety, and he was in the sea of flames, his understanding of the flames was direct to the essence. He could use the power of the flames in the sea of flames to cultivate. Would it take a long time to cultivate the Flame Dipper Fist at this time? The fire dragon under his feet dissipated, and Yixing fell to the ground, standing on the ground. In his mind, the super brain simulated Yixing's figure and practiced according to the cultivation method of the Flame Dipper Fist. Yixing's body moved according to the model in his mind, and the celestial essence in his body also moved according to the model. Yixing performed one move after another, and the power of the flames around him was attracted by the moves, producing a crackling sound. Yixing was pleasantly surprised to find that his Flame Dipper Fist was effective. As an upper-grade spiritual martial art, the difficulty of cultivating the Flame Dipper Fist was obvious. It was especially difficult for a martial sage to cultivate an upper-grade spiritual martial art. Even if Yixing's martial arts talent was extremely heaven-defying, in his opinion, it would take at least a month of hard work to cultivate the Flame Dipper Fist. Therefore, in the Qingyun ancient land, there was absolutely no time to cultivate it. But now, Yixing had just started cultivating it, and it was effective. Cultivating it once was more effective than cultivating it 100 times. The higher the level of the martial arts manual, the more emphasis it placed on one's comprehension. Yixing's current understanding of fire had reached the essence, so cultivating the Flaming Dipper Fist was a piece of cake for him. He was able to learn it almost instantly. Yixing practiced the flame dipper fist once, and he already had a good grasp of it. The second time, he already had a high level of comprehension in his heart. Before the third time, Yixing's flame dipper fist had increased in power. When he punched out, flames condensed and almost formed a dipper, creating a big hole in front of him. The flame dipper fist had reached the entry level. Yixing was secretly surprised. At this moment, he was cultivating the flame dipper fist. It was just like cultivating a lower-grade martial art in the past, and he could really learn it immediately. Yixing's face was full of smiles. With such conditions, he would seize the opportunity to cultivate. Such opportunities were rare. Moreover, in the Qingyun ancient land, it was going to be a full month soon. There was not much time left. Yixing calmed himself down and continued cultivating. The novel, Supreme Archer God, will have more new content on the official WeChat platform. At the same time, there is a 100% chance of a lucky draw for everyone. Open WeChat now, click on the plus sign on the top right to add friend, search for the public account, Dread, and follow it. Hurry up. Hua Tianshu nodded and said, "Be careful, brother Tianyuan. Don't worry. I'll bring Elder Yu Pinghai from the Law Enforcement Hall, Elder Qi Dosheng from the War Pavilion, Elder Wei Yang, Elder Lin Fengjue from the Sect Affairs Hall, and Elder Tang Yintian from the Affairs Hall. Including me, there are 6 perfected persons." Lu Tianyuan patted Hua Tianshu's shoulder and said, "Rest well at home and wait for me to come back." Huh. I, Lu Tianyuan, finally have a child. Huh. Lu Tianyuan laughed as he walked toward the main hall. After Lu Tianyuan left, the smile on Hua Tianshu's face froze and was replaced by a bone-chilling coldness. This day. It's finally here. Hua Tianshu mumbled to herself. When Lu Tianyuan arrived at the main hall, the law enforcement Elder Yu Pinghai, Elder Lin Fengjue, Elder Tang Yintian, Elder Qi Dosheng from the War Pavilion, and perfected persons Wei Yang had all arrived. Let's go to the old site of the Emerald Cloud sect. Lu Tianyuan walked out of the main hall with the 5 perfected persons elders. The purple flame monarch eagle was already waiting for him. The 6 perfected persons leaped onto the back of the purple flame monarch eagle. The purple flame monarch eagle soared into the sky and flew toward the depths of the Emerald Cloud Mountain. Last time, 3 perfected persons were enough to send the younger disciples into the Emerald Cloud ancient land. This time, it was the grand competition of the 10 sects. When the younger disciples fought, it was common for them to lose control and accidentally injure their opponents. There were even cases of them accidentally killing their opponents. Once such a thing happened, if the elders shielded their disciples, it was inevitable that there would be disputes between the sections. At this time, they had to have enough strength to control the situation. Otherwise, they would be bullied. Therefore, Lu Tianyuan brought a total of 5 perfected persons elders with him. Including him, there were 6 of them. The other sects would not bring too many, but it should be enough to control the situation. Moreover, the sect could not lose its foundation. There had to be someone left to guard it. Sending 6 perfected persons at once was not a small number. There were only 6 perfected persons left to guard the sect. The other 2 perfected persons were guarding the star crystal mine. Before noon, Lu Tianyuan and the other 5 had arrived at the Emerald Cloud ancient land. This time, the Falling Star sect arrived earlier than the Spiritual Moon sect, but the Dongfu sect arrived earlier. The Dongfu sect was led by the Supreme Elder, Tan Watanabe. He brought 4 perfected persons with him. The sect leader, Watanabe Xiong, still did not appear. The 2 sects that hated each other arrived first. Naturally, they each took one side and looked at each other with sharp gazes. "Kid Lu, let me make a bet with you. Do you dare?" Tan Watanabe stared at Lu Tianyuan and laughed. Tan Watanabe was of the same generation as Lu Tianyuan. He was much older than Lu Tianyuan and naturally called Lu Tianyuan a kid. Lu Tianyuan said coldly, "What do you want to bet?" Tan Watanabe's eyes flashed viciously and said, "I bet that all the disciples of the Falling Star sect will be wiped out in the Emerald Cloud Ancient Land. Do you dare to bet?" The 6 perfected persons of the Falling Star sect were enraged. Qi Dosheng was the leader of the 3 grand elders of the War Pavilion. He was a 2-star perfected person and had a bad temper. He shouted angrily, "Bullsh**T. I think all the disciples of the Dongfu sect will be wiped out." Tan Watanabe's face turned green. The 4 perfected persons beside him were also enraged. Today was the day that the Emerald Cloud Ancient Land was closed. Everyone was waiting for the elite disciples of their sects to come out of the Emerald Cloud Ancient Land. Who would be willing to hear that their elite disciples were wiped out? The Dongfu sect was the one who started it. Now that they were angry because of it, it was ridiculous. It was as if they were the only ones who could criticize the Falling Star sect and the Falling Star sect could not criticize the Dongfu sect. The 2 sides had been enemies for generations. A single word of disagreement could lead to a big fight. At this time, the people from the Spirit Moon sect and the Flying Cloud sect arrived one after another. Furthermore, the Blood Spectre sect's group had already appeared in the distant sky. Only then did the enlightened masters of the 2 sects stop fighting. Not long after, the people of the Divine Wind sect were also ready. The 6 southern sects had all arrived. As for the 4 northern sects, they were more ostentatious. No one wanted to be the first to arrive. They would not show up until the moment when the seal of the Emerald Cloud Ancient Land was opened. In comparison, the disciples of the 6 southern sects were at a disadvantage in the Emerald Cloud Ancient Land. The elders of the 6 sects looked at the Emerald Cloud Ancient Land with anticipation and worry in their eyes. At noon, the perfected persons of the Sun Moon sect, Xianming sect, Tian Luo sect and the Azure Thunder sect appeared at the same time from different directions and arrived outside the Emerald Cloud Ancient Land. The 4 sects arrived at the same time. When they stood still, the seal of the Emerald Cloud Ancient Land made a loud noise. The seal opened and many paths that led to the Emerald Cloud Ancient Land appeared. Not long after, the disciples of the 4 northern sects came out from the Emerald Cloud Ancient Land. 20 people came out from the Sun Moon sect, 19 from the Xianming sect, 18 from the Azure Thunder sect and 20 from the Tian Luo sect. None of the disciples of the Sun Moon sect and the Tian Luo sect were missing. The Xianming sect was missing 1 person and the Azure Thunder sect was missing 2 people. Soon, 2 more teams came out from the other entrances. One was from the Wind sect and the Blood Ghost sect while the other was from the Falling Star sect and the Spirit Moon sect. Among the 4 sects, only the Falling Star sect still had 10 disciples. The Spirit Moon sect was missing 1 person while the Wind sect and the Blood Ghost sect were missing 2 people each. As for the disciples of the Dongfu sect and the Flying Cloud sect, none of them came out. Watanabe Tan and Yun Zhankong looked at each other from afar and frowned. The disciples of the Falling Star sect and the Spirit Moon sect knew that the disciples of the Dongfu sect and the Flying Cloud sect had been annihilated. However, they could not say this out loud. It was none of their business. If they said it out loud, they would be in trouble. As time passed, the elders of the Dongfu sect and the Flying Cloud sect became more and more anxious. Ha ha ha. At this time, Qi Dosheng, the elder of the War Pavilion of the laughed and said, "Old man of the Dongfu sect, the disciples of the Dongfu sect are indeed annihilated." Ha ha ha. The novel, Supreme Archer God, will have more new content on the official WeChat platform. At the same time, there's a 100% chance of a lucky draw for everyone. Open WeChat now and click the plus sign on the top right to add friend. Search for the public account, Kdred, and follow. Hurry up. Chapter 317. The enlightened being elder of the Dongfu sect looked gloomy. They couldn't believe that the disciples of the Dongfu sect would be annihilated. Among the disciples of the Dongfu sect was Master Watanabe, one of the 6 great childs. He was one of the most outstanding and powerful young geniuses in the Qingyun region. Who could kill him? Although they didn't want to believe it, the fact was that the disciples of the Dongfu sect were annihilated. Because according to the plan, all the disciples of the Falling Star sect should have been annihilated. However, none of the disciples of the Falling Star sect were missing. It was obvious that the plan of the disciples of the Dongfu sect to join forces with the disciples of the Flying Cloud sect to kill the disciples of the Falling Star sect had failed. The enlightened being elder of the Flying Cloud sect was as gloomy as the enlightened being elder of the Dongfu sect. None of the disciples of the Flying Cloud sect came out. Watanabe Tan and Yun Zhankong stared at the entrance of the Qingyun ancient land. They still had a glimmer of hope until the last moment. At this time, even the immortal elders of the northern 4 sects were surprised. The southern 6 sects were one level lower than the northern 4 sects. Their disciples could never be compared with the best disciples of the northern 4 sects. After hundreds of years, there was finally a Master Watanabe who could be compared with the best disciples of the northern 4 sects. How could he die in the Qingyun ancient land? At this moment, the disciples of the 4 northern sects had reported to the enlightened being elders of the 4 northern sects. The enlightened being elders of the Sun Moon sect, Xianming sect, Qinglei sect, and Tianluo sect all looked at the Falling Star sect. Their target was obviously Yixing. After hearing about Yixing's performance in the Qingyun ancient land, the enlightened being elders of the 4 northern sects concluded that Master Watanabe had died. The disciples of the Dongfu sect had been annihilated. However, they didn't know why the disciples of the Flying Cloud sect didn't come out either. The enlightened masters of the Sun Moon sect and the mysterious underworld sect were furious about the death of young Master Watanabe. The Dongfu sect was the target of their support among the 6 southern sects. Young Master Watanabe was an important chess piece with great potential in the future. He would become a great powerhouse in the Green Cloud region. He would play a great role in eliminating the Sky Net sect and Green Thunder sect. Now that they had lost this important chess piece, the Falling Star sect that Yixing belonged to was on the side of the Tianluo sect and the Green Thunder sect. They did not wish for the Tianluo sect and the Green Thunder sect to have a top expert who could influence the situation. Moreover, back in the Azure Cloud ancient ground, Yixing had humiliated the disciples of the Sun Moon sect and the Dark Nether sect. Even young noble Great Sun and young noble Dark Nether were injured by Yixing's Fire Cloud Lion. This made the enlightened beings and elders of the 2 sects even more furious at Yixing. Therefore, the enlightened masters and elders of the Sun Moon sect and the Dark Nether sect looked at Yixing with ferocious gazes. As for the enlightened masters and elders of the Tianluo sect and the Green Thunder sect, they were naturally happy to see the death of young Master Watanabe and the rise of Yixing. However, the enlightened masters of the Green Thunder sect were prejudiced against Yixing because of young Master Thunder. The enlightened masters of the Tianluo sect did not hide the admiration in their eyes. The sect master of the Tianluo sect, Luo Zhan, decided to attach importance to the relationship with the Falling Star sect. He was prepared to support the Falling Star sect and nurture Yixing. If Yixing could become a top expert in the Green Cloud region, then they would have more confidence in the battle against the Sun Moon sect and the Dark Nether sect. The 4 northern sects had been competing for thousands of years. The conflicts between them were intense. In this generation, each sect had produced outstanding young geniuses. Perhaps the battle between the 2 camps would end in this generation. In the end, one side would win and the other side would be eliminated from the Green Cloud region. Which sect did not want to be passed down forever? No one wanted to be the one to be eliminated. The young geniuses of this generation were far better than those of the past. The future was in their hands. Whichever side had more geniuses would have a higher chance of winning. Currently, the odds of winning were in the Sun-Moon sect and the Dark Nether sect's favor. This was because the Sun-Moon sect had 2 child-level geniuses. With the addition of the Dark Nether sect's 1, they had already surpassed the 2 child-level geniuses of the Tian Luo sect and the Green Thunder sect. With the addition of Sir Watanabe, it would be a situation of 4 against 2. If this generation were to fully mature in another 10 years, then the situation would be extremely unfavorable to the Tian Luo sect and the Green Thunder sect. Now, Sir Watanabe had fallen and Yixing had risen. Yixing was on the side of the Tian Luo sect and the Green Thunder sect. As long as they nurtured Yixing, the future child-level geniuses would be 3 against 3. They would be able to overturn the disadvantage of the Tian Luo sect and the Green Thunder sect. Sect Master Lei. Our chance has come. In the future, we will support the Falling Star sect and nurture Yixing. We can overturn the disadvantage in the battle against the Sun-Moon sect and the Dark Nether sect. We finally have a chance of winning. Luo Zhan, the sect master of the Tian Luo sect, sent a message to Lei Zhen, the sect master of the Green Thunder sect. Lei Zhen, the sect master of the Green Thunder sect, had a prejudice against Yixing because his son, Lei Bao, had been severely injured by Yixing's demonic beasts in the Green Cloud Ancient Land. He replied, "Let's see his performance in the 10 sects grand competition first." Lei Zhen thought to himself, if he really has the potential, there is no harm in nurturing him as a pawn. If he is just a good-for-nothing who relies on the power of the demonic beasts, what is the point of keeping him? Rumble. The seal of the Green Cloud Ancient Land was closed and the entrances were covered by the seal. The elders of the East Supporting Sect and the Flying Cloud Sect waited for a long time but did not see their disciples come out of the Green Cloud Ancient Land. Now that the seal of the Green Cloud Ancient Land was closed, even if they did not believe it, they had to recognize the truth. The disciples of the East Supporting Sect and the Flying Cloud Sect were all annihilated and none of them survived. No. Looking at the complete seal of the Green Cloud Ancient Land, Dubian Tan and Yun Zhankong cried out in pain. Those who had entered the Qing Yun Ancient Land were the most elite young geniuses, especially the younger generation. Whether it was the Dong Fu sect or the Flying Cloud sect, there were peerless geniuses who had not appeared for hundreds of years. It was unacceptable that all of them had died. The Falling Stars sect and the Spirit Moon sect were happy to see the pain of the elders of the East Supporting Sect. They were indifferent to the pain of the elders of the Flying Cloud sect. They had heard from their disciples that the disciples of the Flying Cloud sect and the East Supporting Sect had colluded. "It's you, it's your fault." Dubian Tan's eyes were red as he pointed at the disciples of the Falling Stars sect and shouted. Yixing said, "Old man, you can eat whatever you want but you can't spout whatever you want. You have to have evidence to back up your words. The disciples of the East Supporting Sect are all dead. It's none of our business. You killed the disciples of the East Supporting Sect and you still dare to deny it. The Fire Cloud Lion beside you is a LV3 demonic beast. You must have killed the disciples of the East Supporting Sect." At this moment, an angry voice came from the Sun-Moon sect. It was young Master Darius. In the Green Cloud Ancient Land, young Master Darius was severely injured by the Fire Cloud Lion. However, he had a medium-grade healing pill. After so many days, his injury had already healed. Young Master Dark Nether and young Master Thunder were the same. The elders of the 4 northern sects, the Falling Stars sect, the Spirit Moon sect, the Wind sect, and the Blood Spectre sect had heard from their disciples that the Fire Cloud Lion beside Yixing was a LV3 demonic beast. They were already shocked and their expressions did not change after hearing young Master Darius's words. However, the elders of the East Supporting Sect and the Flying Cloud sect were shocked when they heard it. Dubian Tan was furious. He pointed at Yixing and shouted, "I see. You used a LV3 demonic beast to kill all the disciples of our sect. You killed the number 1 genius of our sect. I will tear you into pieces." The leader of the Flying Cloud sect, Yun Zhankong, also shouted emotionally, Lu Tianyuan, our sect is in an alliance with the Falling Stars sect. Your disciple dared to kill all the disciples of the Flying Cloud sect. Is he still human? We will avenge our disciples and hand over that little bastard Yixing. Lu Tianyuan looked at Yun Zhankong indifferently and said, Yixing said that you can eat whatever you want but not fart. Yun Zhankong, what nonsense are you spouting? What does the annihilation of your Flying Cloud sect disciples have to do with my Falling Stars sect disciples? Yun Zhankong said angrily, who else could it be other than him? Lu Tianyuan said, in the Qingyun ancient land, there are many people who can kill the disciples of the Flying Cloud sect. Not to mention the geniuses of the northern four sects, even the disciples of the Dongfu sect can kill the trash disciples of the Flying Cloud sect. Yun Zhankong shouted, why would the disciples of the East supporting sect kill my Flying Cloud sect disciples? Lu Tianyuan smiled faintly and said, oh. Why not? Are you close? Only one more vote and I will be in the top 30 of the overall ranking. Which brother will vote for me? Thank you. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.